All right, this is fair warning. We're live for the next 3 minutes, and I'm going to call a meeting into order. All right, everybody have a seat here. We're about a minute away. Okay, folks, call the meeting to order. Newton Cook, and I facilitate this little meeting every few months, and appreciate everyone being here. These meetings are usually pretty interesting. We have a lot of good subjects and a lot of good speakers, and it very much appreciate that you come out. First thing we start off with, as always, is Mr. Drew Bartlett here, the Executive Director of the district, has some words to say. Thank you, Drew.
Thanks, Newton. And thanks, everyone, for coming out. Always good to see everyone here, and thanks for all the engagement you give us. We're very proud of our recreational areas and want to stay that way. And so this forum provides us the information and the engagement we need to make sure that, we're doing everything we can to accommodate recreation while also meeting other parts of our mission. I see we have some other agencies here to present, which is fantastic. The more they get involved, the better. Certainly, I know I don't have to ask you to be engaged. You will. We've got some good folks here, so let's have a good meeting. I'll turn it back to you, Newton.
Thank you, Drew. These meetings are roundtable meetings. There are no 3-minute limits on public comments. In fact, we don't have public comments. Just raise your hand. People on Zoom, same thing. Just raise your hand. However, I do have a soft gavel, and we have to stay within a reasonable length of time with your comments. You also can comment more than one time if you like during the meeting. The meeting is being live streamed. We do have a lot of people on Zoom, and a lot of the presentations tonight are going to be virtual because they're coming from the Corps, and I'm sure they're in Jacksonville or somewhere scattered about. Microphone, push the button and hold it down to the green, or we can't hear you. Please say your name. This is all recorded, and it's important because it goes up on YouTube, and people like to know who you are when you make a comment, and it's important when it goes up on YouTube. I'm shocked sometimes at how many people actually watch these meetings on YouTube because they can't come or for some reason or the other. The people on Zoom, if you want to comment, just use the raise your hand feature. If you're using a phone and would like to comment, please press *9 to raise hand and *6 to mute and unmute. If you're having any trouble and need help, please go to the website, sfwmd.gov, and click the Ask Us button at the top of the page, and you will be assisted. We always, with one exception in 15 years, I think have finished this meeting about right at 8 o'clock, and that will be the same tonight, I'm sure. We have a great list of presenters. As I say, some of them are virtually, but that's all right. And we would like to start tonight. Alligator Alley, I-75 recreational updates, Ann Broadwell, environmental manager of the Florida Department of Transportation. So, Ann, are you out there?
Hi, yes, I am ready to present. Are we ready?
Yep, we're ready. Thank you.
Yes, Ann, we're
Okay,
ready.
good. Okay, thank you. Good afternoon or good evening. Thanks for inviting me back. I was here probably about 2, 3 years ago to talk about the US 27 boat ramp. That ended up being a very successful project and transition to Broward County Park. So we are on to I-75. Next slide, please. The agenda for my quick presentation is discussing the I-75 boat ramps, the mile marker 35 rest area, and the new amenities that we are installing out there. And then I'd like to give you an update on the I-75 wildlife crossings and some of the safety improvements that we're making out there. Next slide, please. I just wanted to share with you a little bit about District 4. We are 5 counties on the Atlantic Ocean. We have about close to 4 million residents in our district. 90 airports, 3 deep water ports, 2 rail lines that actually carry both freight and passenger, which is a little unique for Florida. And then we also had the first tunnel in the state. Next slide, please. This is the South Florida Water Management District map from the Python Challenge. I like this map because not only does it show the South Florida Water Management System, it also shows the roadway. So I kind of have a good idea of where we are in the state when I look at this map. The sunbursts along I-75 are the boat ramp locations. We have what we call our recreational areas, which are parking lot, boat ramps, picnic tables, and environmental panels that FWC and DOT has installed there. There is a recreational area eastbound and westbound. East of the I-75 mile marker 35 rest area. And then there are 8 boat ramps at the rest area. 2 of them are on the westbound side, and then 6 are on the eastbound side of I-75. And then west of the rest area, there's also another pair of recreational areas, westbound and eastbound. Next slide, please. As some of you are probably aware, these boat ramps have come into disrepair. They were originally built in the mid-1990s. We are starting a project to replace these. We are using the original construction plans, so the footprint will be the same. We have already been to South Florida Water Management District and the Army Corps of Engineers for the environmental resource permitting. We're presenting it as a maintenance project. Like I said, all the work will be within the original permitted footprint, and the construction should start in 2027. It's about approximately $2.1 million in Alligator Alley funds that are being used for the repairs. Some of the boat ramps have been opened. We are doing our best to share that information with the Florida Wildlife Conservation Commission boat ramp locator, the website. So that's probably the best place to go for the existing boat ramp updates. Next slide, please. This is an aerial of the US 27 boat ramp that ended up getting repaved. New striping was put in, and it got transferred from DOT to Broward County Parks through South Florida Water Management District right-of-way occupancy permitting program. So that one is up and running. Next slide, please. So the I-75 mile marker 35 rest area, which is the facility that has the big bathroom and truck parking, we underwent a environmental education project a couple years ago. We had a traveler who sent a letter to DOT talking about how boring the drive across the alley was, and wasn't there anything you could do to, turn it into a destination. So the first phase of this project was putting in the informational kiosks at the recreational areas where there are no bathrooms. Then phase two, we've built an observation tower. We have this 16-foot bronze alligator, and also we're installing a native plant exhibit. Next slide, please. Click again. So this is the mile marker 35 rest area. You can see that there are the dog park is open, the rest area facility is open, and what we call the Alligator Plaza and the statue is open. If you look down there in the lower left-hand corner, there are some QR codes. One of them is for the boat ramp information, and the other one is for information about the rest area project. And down there in the lower right-hand corner, you can see that we have our boardwalk, lookout tower, the wetland plant exhibit, an upper boardwalk viewing platform. If you can click it one more time. This is a drone footage of the observation tower when it was complete, and they are currently doing the native plant exhibit in those ponds and whatnot that you see. And click it one more time, please. And that's what the observation tower looks like. It's about a 4-story tower. I think you can click it one more time. Okay, this is a rendering from the 1974 EIS. And if you look up there in the upper left-hand corner, you can see there was an observation tower that was in the rendering. It kind of looks like the one at Shark Valley, but there was this idea that it would be a great place to be able to look out over the Everglades, even back in the 70s. Click the slide, please. And this is what it looks like from up top. It is really a spectacular view. Next slide, please. So for the wildlife crossing and safety update on I-75, let's see, where am I? Oh, here we are. So typically the fencing around a wildlife crossing is 10 feet tall with a 2-foot barbed wire. Back when I-75 was being constructed, the panther concern was really focused on Collier County, which is District 1. So when the project got to District 4, regular cattle fence was installed. We do have one wildlife crossing just west of Snake Road interchange. And we are having more and more panther sightings and fatalities in District 4. So we are going to redo the fencing west of Snake Road interchange, match it up with where the District 1 fencing starts, and also put guardrail in the median for a safety project. So that's coming up in 2027. And the last slide. So we've installed a wildlife camera at that wildlife crossing out at west of Snake Road. And we were surprised to see that we do have bear activity. So more to come with our wildlife crossing camera shots. And that's all I have. Are there any questions?
Thank you, Ann. I did omit one thing we normally do, and that's go around the whole table and introduce ourselves. We'll do that after we do finish with Ann's questions here. Yes.
Oh, okay.
I don't really have a question, but I'd just like to go back about 35 years ago. There was a man named Jack Muller who sat at all these meetings. Back then, Alligator Alley was just a road. You unloaded your airboat, your full track, half track, whatever, anywhere you wanted, and you went into the Everglades. And Jack Mueller, I was a young kid back then, believe it or not. And Jack Mueller used to sit there and pound on the table that we have to get access at every one of those rest areas. I'm thinking, what do we even want to do with a rest area? We wouldn't want to unload where everybody else is. And when I ride down Alligator Alley today, I think back how brilliant he was. Because it would be chain link all the way down through there. We would not have one access point to get into the Everglades if somebody wasn't thinking ahead 40, 50 years. And I'm very proud to be a part of that back then, even though I really was just a youngster riding on the coattails of what somebody had a vision of. So it always goes to show you, you always got to be looking out for access. Because when the chain link comes, it's gone.
Thank you, Bishop. And Jack is still active in Texas, and he watches us close, I can tell you. Any other questions? Boy, this ramp on 27, is that the one that's currently there now, or just north of Sawgrass Park?
It's the second one. The first one off of I-75 exit ramp, that first one on the west side, the last I knew, FP&L was still using it as a staging area. So this is the second one north.
Okay, I was just out there not too long ago, and it didn't look like that. It didn't have that much parking, the one I was at anyway. We appreciate every one of these access points. We went a long time without hardly any access points along there because there was a great discussion between the Department of Transportation and the district and the FWC and everyone else about who was responsible for what. But it's important that we get as many access points as possible for all types of vehicles, boats, airboats, track, whatever. And it's very much appreciated when those facilities are put there. Anyone else have any questions or anything?
There are no hands raised on Zoom. Oh, actually, we do have one. Yep. Mr. Elfenbein, Mike Elfenbein.
I am here. Thank you. Hi, guys. Sorry I couldn't be there. I had a great presentation, and thank you, Newton. We very much appreciate having those access points. There was a couple of things I wanted to know. Three things, actually. One is in the not so distant past, there's been a lot of theft of actual vehicles and trailers and things stolen from people's vehicles. Is there any mechanism in the work that you're doing that somehow increases security with either cameras or additional personnel? That's my first question.
I will have to get back to you on that. I know that FHP is a presence out there between the toll plazas. We also have the road rangers, but I can check to see what other opportunities they might have.
Yeah, thank you. They there's one theft that comes to mind in the last year of an F-250 and the trailer. The airboater came back to the boat ramp after a long day in the hot sun, only to find no truck and trailer. And I thought it was interesting because there's cameras up and down the interstate, but good luck trying to get that tape to see your truck. They pretty much won't give it to you. So I wondered if maybe some kind of remote cameras could be installed at those locations for better security for folks who might leave their trucks and trailers for multiple days and multiple nights. And then another thing I wondered, only because you're in the room, it's not specific to these boat ramps, but there's some access points to the west off of 75 that are used for access to Big Cypress National Preserve. And the last time I drove through there, I noticed that the garbage cans were full to the point where there was garbage pretty much all up along the guardrail there in the parking area. Is there a way, I don't know if that's DOT's responsibility or somebody else, but besides the fact that it doesn't look good, it was noticeable that a lot of that plastic and stuff that's flying is flying into the preserve and out of the parking lot. Is that something that you guys can handle or address?
The Big Cypress Preserve access points are in District 1. I will reach out to them to see how those are maintained. I'm not sure if they are DOT responsibility or if it's FWC. It seems to me that one of those areas is not manned by DOT, but I can find that out.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And then I guess my next question probably is out of your district too. I'm not sure where the line is, but I just wondered if you had any thought or had been ramping up or preparing for closures or any modifications to the access ramp at the L28 interceptor, or whether any of those discussions had made it in front of you yet as to what that access will look like there at that point for Western Everglades restoration.
Okay, okay, somebody from South Florida is gonna have to help me out. Is the L28 in Collier County or Broward County?
I think that's Collier.
Yeah.
Okay, that would be another question for District 1.
Okay.
And
I'm sorry.
Yvette, if I get these answers to you, will you distribute them?
And we can talk after the meeting and
Okay.
we'll help you with that. Thank you.
All right, sure thing.
Thank you guys so much. Great presentation. Thanks for all the information and really appreciate how hard you all work to ensure our access. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Cook, we have no additional raised hands on Zoom.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Ann. Appreciate it very much. Okay, now we're gonna do the item I skipped. And just starting to the left, and mind you, this time it's more of an introduction thing, but if you have a quick comment about a meeting or something you club is doing or something you want to talk about, this is the time you can do that shortly. At the end of the meeting, we'll have another round the table where you'll have more time to talk about individual things as we watch the clock towards the end of the meeting. So starting with Drew.
Hi, Drew Bartlett, Executive Director, South Florida Water Management District.
Good evening, Rich Virgil. I'm the Division Director for Land Management and Field Operations.
Good evening, Rory Feeney, Bureau Chief, Land Resources.
Justin Nolte, Section Administrator for the District for Land Stewardship.
Emily Johnson, I'm with the District's Office of Counsel.
Larry Daniels, Florida Airboat Association.
Bishop Wright, Florida Airboat Association and FSCA.
Thomas McGoldrick, FSCA.
Matt Nelson, Florida Sportsman Conservation Association.
Kyle Archecki, Broward Airboat Club.
Andrew Burnett, Florida Sportsman's Conservation Association.
John Rozier, Everglades Coordinating Council and the Full Track Conservation Club at Dade County.
Robert Hickman, FSCA.
Paul Hickman, FSCA.
Dan King, FSCA.
Good evening, John Escobar with the FSCA.
David Nichols with the FSCA.
Larissa Musgrove with FSCA.
Kerry Garceau, Youth Hunt Program in Florida.
Steve Stroh, FSCA.
Brad Wyrock, Casibo River Valley Sportsman, Florida Airboat Association.
Dana Wyrock, KRVSA.
Rachel Buckley, Florida Paddling Trails Association.
I'm Dr. David Chan. I'm the current president of the Florida Paddling Trails Association. And may I ask, what does FSCA stand for?
Fred Davis, Florida Trail Association, Waxahachie Chapter.
Greg Nolte, District Project Manager for CEPP North.
Nathan Ralph, I work at the district. I'm a section leader in veg management.
James Harbaugh, Project Manager for Recreation District.
Mike Cheek, Project Manager for Public Use and Recreation District.
Dan Cotter, Section Leader for Land Stewardship over Public Use.
Molly Brown, District Clerk, South Florida Water Management District.
Okay, thank you very much, everyone. We move on to item number 3. It's the Indian River Lagoon South Recreation Features, Gustavo Cerez and Michael Bush will be doing this presentation, and it will both be done virtually. So you guys are on.
Great, thank you. Next slide, please. Good evening. Again, my name is Michael Bush. I'd like to take a moment to thank the South Florida Water Management District for allowing the Army Corps of Engineers, otherwise known as USACE, to present proposed recreation features within the Indian River Lagoon South watershed. The purpose of this presentation is to provide the public with the current recreation alternatives developed for a comprehensive Everglades restoration plan, otherwise known as CEPP projects within Martin and St. Lucie counties, with the intention of gathering feedback to help guide the development of recreational opportunities in this region. I'm working out of the USACE office in Jacksonville. I'm the project manager for the development and construction of recreational features on CEPP projects within the Indian River Lagoon watershed. Next slide, please. I'm going to cover a couple of housekeeping items for this presentation. First thing, please hold comments and questions until the end of the presentation. If you choose to provide feedback at the end of the presentation, please state your name and affiliation. Thank you for following this guidance so we get through the information in the time provided. We expect to have plenty of time at the end of the slideshow to receive your feedback. Next slide, please. I'd like to highlight the planning team involved in this effort. Again, I am Michael Bush. I'm the project manager. We have project management assistance being provided by Mike Drog and Patrick Murphy. Gustavo Suarez is the lead planner. Sam Hans will be covering the environmental aspects for this effort. Mark Tiemann will be the lead archaeologist, helping to ensure that cultural resources are avoided and preserved. Del Kabesh will be the leading economic analysis. We'll be figuring the costs. Joe Galliard will be the engineering lead. And the tribal liaisons for this effort include Cindy Thomas and Armando Ramirez. Next slide, please. Okay, so I'm going to provide an overview of the Indian River Lagoon South project. The overall purpose of this project is to restore ecosystem function in the St. Lucie estuary and the Indian River Lagoon by providing above-ground reservoir storage and water treatment, improving the water quality, and allowing the freshwater deliveries to the St. Lucie estuary and Indian River Lagoon with volumes and timings that mirror the historic ecological conditions. This project includes reservoirs, stormwater treatment areas, natural water storage and treatment areas, floodplain restoration, muck removal from the St. Lucie River, as well as oyster habitat enhancement and creation. Thank you. Next slide. This slide provides an overview of the Indian River Lagoon South project. I'm going to take a moment to point out some of the project components. These will be the areas of the region where we are proposing to increase recreational opportunities. So if you're starting out at the south portion of Martin County is the C44 reservoir. That's in light blue, and the dark blue is the stormwater treatment area that's associated with C44. That project is currently in operation and testing monitoring period. So we're working on getting that online. Next, we have the C23, C24 stormwater treatment area. You see that in dark blue. And associated with that stormwater treatment area is a North Reservoir in light blue. It's adjacent to the west. And then to the southwest of that is the South Reservoir. So both of those reservoirs will feed the STA. And finally, for the final reservoir and STA is C25 Reservoir, which is the northern part of St. Lucie County, just south of the Turnpike. It's quite a bit smaller, but it's designed to treat the water that's in that watershed. Also looking at natural lands in phase 2. So we're going to have natural storage and water treatment areas throughout the project area. Cypress Creek is in the southwest part of St. Lucie County. Then we have Alligator, which is in northern Martin. And we also have Palmar Complex, which is southeast of that. So these areas will be acquired. Some of these parcels will be acquired, have some restoration going on. And this is also where we hope to have more trails and recreational opportunities for the public. In addition to the natural storage and treatment areas, we're going to have floodplain restoration along the North Fork of the St. Lucie River. We'll also have muck removal in that area. And we'll do habitat creation for oysters. It's all occurring within the St. Lucie River in the North Fork. Next slide, please.
Hey, thank you, Michael. I'm happy to be this afternoon supporting this forum and supporting the Idle South project. My name is Gustavo Suarez, Planning Technical Lead in the Plan Formulation Branch of the Planning Division in the Army Corps of Engineers in Jacksonville District. A little bit of background on me. I have been working with the Corps for about 8 years. 5 of them working in the engineering division when I work supporting the hydraulic design of some of the Idle South features, including the C23-24 North Reservoir and supporting the C23-24 South Reservoir design. Have been in planning for about 3 years when have been leading plan formulation projects and validations reports in coordination with the South Florida Water Management District. This slide presents a background of the project authorization. The Indian River Lagoon South final project implementation report and environmental impact statement was complete in 2004. The project was authorized by Congress and including the Water Resource and Development Act or WRDA of 2007. The authorized Idle South project did not include recreational features at the time of the authorization in 2007. Any change to the authorized project needs to follow Corps guidance. In this case, for the Idle South, the addition of recreational features to the authorized project will require the development of a validation report. Next slide, please. So what is a validation report? A validation report is a type of post-authorization change report or a PACR. The validation report documents changes to the authorized project, and the validation reports are scoped based on proposed changes after a project is authorized. This slide also presents the scope for the Idle South validation report. The lead agency is the United States Army Corps of Engineers in Jacksonville District. The South Florida Water Management District, which is our non-federal sponsor and Corps chair partner, requested to add recreational features to the Idle South project. And a validation report and environmental policy or NEPA analysis are being developed in support to requests to include recreational features to the Idle South project. Next slide, please. This slide presents some of the potential recreational opportunities that we are looking in the Idle South project and features. I will be leaving this slide open for a moment to provide an opportunity to look at the recreational opportunities that we are exploring and your input is very important. So we are kind of developing this recreation alternative. So it's great to be here this evening to have additional input from the public. Next slide, please. Again, this is the recreational features that we are considering to include in the RL South project. These are kind of examples of what we are considering, and any other feature, including recently approved projects, will be considering for the recreational features in the RL South. Next slide, please. This slide presents the timeline and process to complete the IL South Recreation Validation Report to add the recreational features to the IL South project and authorized project. The scope of work and schedule was coordinated with the South Florida Water Management District, and it was approved by the Corp Division in October 2024. What you see in this slide is the green arrows is when the public has an opportunity to provide input. So right now we are developing the alternative and asking for input for the recreational alternative. Our team is working in two scenarios right now, the no action plan and the action plan. The action plan being the recreational alternative with the recreational features. The recreational alternative, we look for adding recreational features to the project. And again, public input is very important. We are asking for input on ideas on possible recreational features to the project. Our team plans to complete the recreational alternative by the end of this month. And this is why your input tonight is crucial for a successful project. Once we have the recreational alternative, our team will be comparing the alternatives. As a reminder, the no action alternative is the plan evaluating the project without recreational features. And the comparison of no action plan and action plan will be performed using environmental analysis and economic analysis. Again, the public will have opportunity to provide input on the draft validation report in NEPA. That's scheduled for November 20, this year in November. So as after the comparison of the action plan to the no action plan, our team will focus in documenting the information in the validation report in NEPA. This is scheduled to be complete this fall. And again, the public will have opportunity to provide additional input to the draft NEPA and validation report at that time. Both the validation report and NEPA will follow our review process. And our team is targeting to transmit to our division the validation report by June 2026 to have a validation report decision from the Corp headquarters by December 2026. Next slide, please. So this is an example of the feedback requested. And again, as I mentioned previously in the previous slide, we'll be comparing the no action and action plan. The environmental analysis will include NEPA and NEPA compliance with other applicable environmental laws. And this will be done for the recreational features alternative. We will have economic analysis. We'll be calculating the additional recreational benefits. The benefits will be calculated using estimates, visitation, and the values of visit to capture the total recreational benefits of the site. The recreational site will be justified by comparing annual recreational benefits compared to the average annual cost of to build the sites. The visitation estimates will be estimating forecasting numbers of visits or using data from nearby projects. And now Michael Butch, or project manager, will be continuing with the presentation. Thank you.
Thanks, Gustavo. Okay, so we're at the end of March 2025. You can see up here, we're developing and evaluating the recreational features. Following that, we hope to have the draft validation report and the NEPA document for review in November of 2025, and then have a final VR and NEPA in May of 2026. And then finally, we hope to have the validation report decision by December of 2026. At that point, we would be able to do recreational features, but we have to get to that point. Next slide, please. Okay, this is where we're looking for public feedback. This is the end of the slideshow. If you'd like to provide some feedback, please state your name and affiliation. You can see there's an email at the bottom. This is another option to provide feedback, but notice that this will only be open until March 28th. That's this Friday. So that's another option for you guys. I just want to show appreciation to you all for joining, and hopefully you can provide some feedback to help us with our recreational plan. Open to public comment.
Thank you very much. Starting on the left, who we have might have a question. Okay.
Yeah, John Rozier, Everglades Coordinating Council. I'm just curious, does the Corps not have anything in there when they go to do a project about recreation? So that means every time we do a Corps project that we have to add the recreation component into it?
This is Michael Bush. I'll field that question. There's several projects in CERP. Some of those projects, they did have recreation built in and was authorized at the time that the project was authorized. For one reason or another, recreation did not make it in the authorization of this project. And so we're at that stage just to, this is what we have to do. Unfortunately, this is the road to go down. All of the projects had recreational built in, so didn't have to go through this step.
Yes, I remember it all too well, because I was at a meeting about 2004, 2005, and I was raising hell about the fact that the Corps didn't have any recreation in these particular projects. And even today, occasionally, we'll find a project well along and no recreation in it. And there's absolutely no excuse for it. When we build these projects, recreation and public access is supposed to be one of the things on the agenda. I think the Corps is a lot better at it today than they were then, a lot better. But I'd like to remind the Corps that there's a lot of folks watch this, and we appreciate it very much when the recreation features are considered in the plans. So thank you very much for, at this point, with March 28th. Can we get a few more days here for people to comment? I mean, I put it in my phone. I'm getting ready to put it out to 2,000 people before this night's over.
Mr. Cook, this is Michael Bush. I think we can open it up for a longer period. I'll give another 2 weeks.
That would be very much appreciated.
No problem, sir.
Next person. Anyone else have a comment on this?
Yeah, Matt Nelson, FSCA. Basically, I was going to comment what Newton did, asking how long this has been out for public comment as far as recreation. And basically, if it ends this Friday, is there any way we can extend it? You know, the public's input on recreation on these properties is huge. What this board has done under Drew's direction has been awesome for South Florida water management properties. And we would love to see any project with the Army Corps follow that as much as possible. But 3 days to get our membership to put in public comment really is not a sufficient time, in my opinion.
Michael Bush again. I'm going to extend the public comment period for another 2 weeks. So we're looking at April 11th.
Very good.
Thank you very much.
Anyone else on this particular subject? Anyone on Zoom?
There are no hands raised on Zoom, Mr. Cook.
Hey, thanks, guys. Appreciate it very much. Oh, Dan Cotter would like to make a comment.
Hey, Michael and Gustavo, I just want to let everybody else know that, and to answer your question, John, there's a bunch, we probably are working on at least 20 projects that have recreation. So most of them have that, were included as part of the project. This IRL South, this small suite of projects up there, well, good-sized projects, because it wasn't approved, the Corps is working with us, and Michael and Gustavo have been great. We meet, Mike Cheek and I and some of the other staff with them every 2 weeks to talk about these projects and make sure, you know, similar access, similar future public recreation is going to be on these just as some of the other projects. So, and like I said, they've been great to work with, and it's a great team we have right now. Thanks.
Dan. Another comment I want to make on these projects, and this includes the district and the Corps, is when I visit them, I'm riding down the road, and I'm looking at a lot of expensive grass and not very much natural area. Why we have to have 100 yards on each side of the road mowed grass, and then right next to it is great deer and turkey hunting area, I've never been able to figure out. So I know we have to have some open area around these roads on these projects, but also there should be a minimum expense to go out and cut it. And we should have a maximum natural areas. C-44 is a prime example. You ride around out there and you got deer running down the side of the road in the open grass area. And why is that? You know, because it's cut way too back from the road and the natural areas are there. So save some money and leave the natural areas. Thank you very much. All right, our next presentation. Central Everglades Planning Project, South Regional, South Recreational Features. Cecilia Simpson, Project Manager of the Corps. Cecilia, welcome wherever you are out there in virtual land. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Newton. I am in virtual land. Apologies that I cannot be there, but hopefully there will be opportunities in the future to do just that, be there. Can I go to the next slide? Thank you. So I'm Cece Simpson. I'm the project engineer for CEPP South with the Army Corps. I'm going to be going over the CEPP overview and also the features within CEPP South. I'll then introduce the recreation features within CEPP South, explain the purpose of the decomp physical model, and where we are within CEPP South with the LLR, which is that limited reevaluation and the effects on recreation. Then I'll go into next steps. Next slide. The purpose of CEPP is to increase the water quantity, improve quality, timing and distribution within the Northern Estuaries, Water Conservation Area 3, Everglades National Park, in the Florida Bay, as well as increasing water supply for municipal, industrial, and agricultural uses. Next slide. There are 4 phases to CEPP. The first one being CEPP EAA, which is the huge reservoir that we have just south of Lake Okeechobee. It will store the water, treat it before it goes into the Everglades. The next phase is CEPP North, which provides the inflow facilities needed to restore the Water Conservation Area 3A and move water south into the Everglades National Park. CEPP South is removing those barriers so that water can flow into the Everglades National Park. In the fourth phase, new water puts protections in place to prevent seepage and reduce flood risks to the populations east of Everglades National Park. The common theme with all four of these phases is to move water south. Next slide, please. CEPP South features that were included in the 2014 final PIR and EIS are these as follow. Our active contract is 1AR, which is putting in 3 gated culverts, structure 631, 632, and 633 along the L67A canal levee. We're also backfilling an agricultural ditch. Our second contract, 2A, is on the eastern side of CEPP South, and that structure S356, which is the pump station. It also includes a spillway with structure S344. South Florida Water Management District is going to be constructing structure 355 West, which is a spillway at the bottom of the Blue Shanty levee. Contract 5 will be degrading a portion of the L67C levee, as well as building that Blue Shanty levee in green that's moving north to south, and then degrading a portion of L29 levee. And that final piece of CEPP is going to be degrading the L67 extension levee and backfilling the canal. To date, we've got structure 333 North completed, and of course, the removal of Old Tamiami Trail Road. Next slide, please. This visual is to show the recreational features within CEPP South. I'm going to start at the north on Site I, and that's the Spoil Island camping site, which will include a picnic table, toilet, fire ring, and a courtesy dock. Moving a little south to Site F is our boat ramps include into the L67C and Miami canals. It will also include a picnic table, a kayak launch site, shelter, and toilet. Moving southeast, there is Site H, which is a public access site that will include a picnic table and also a kayak launch site. Moving west will be Site J along the Blue Shanty levee, and that will have a airboat crossing on that green shaded line. That's the levee. And the western site is G, which will also include or build upon the public access site that is there, will increase parking capacity, a toilet, and picnic tables. All these features will increase public access, maintain boat access, and overall increase public access within this area of CEPP South. Next slide, please. We've done a decomp physical model. Oh, sorry. For the person who's doing the slides, if you can click 5 times or at least until you see that purple rectangle, there is some automation on this one. Apologies. So the decomp physical model purpose is it's a temporary field test that we've been doing to help provide information about ecological benefits and consequences. One more slide, or one more click, please. Thanks. And we wanted to see how it affects the water sheet flow, the velocities that we're going to be incurring at those gated culverts that we're building along L67A, the effects of vegetation, the changes in nutrient loads, and overall the effects in the Everglades National Park. Next slide, please. Thank you. It's been a huge lift and undertaking, but those decomp physical models findings are complete. And the features that are under consideration are putting plugs in the L67C canal. And this has effects or impacts on recreation. Those plugs will reduce access to the canal. Again, L67C canal. They vary in length, height, and plug numbers. But the plugs have an environmental purpose, and that's to evenly distribute the sheet flow and to provide connectivity from marsh to marsh, as we've seen in the decomp physical model. Next slide, please. Right now, CEPP South is in the NEPA phase. We did close public comment March 13th, and we're compiling what we've gotten from the public and how it's going to inform our initial scope. Our next steps are to develop alternatives and to create criteria to evaluate those alternatives. We do want to have a working session in person, and that's to be decided, and I'll communicate that once available. Next slide, please. I did mention we did close NEPA to public comments, but we are welcoming comments along through this process of the NEPA. I wanted to include this slide to show where you can send those comments, whether it be through the mail with our address there and here in Jacksonville, our email address that's shared within our team, so multiple people have access, and of course our project site that you can get more information if I didn't provide it here in this presentation. I do have Dr. Brad Foster. He is my planning lead on the call as well. And with that, next slide, I'll be happy to take any questions, comments, concerns, etc. that I have in the room there. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Questions? Boy, anybody on Zoom?
No, Mr. Cook.
Thank you.
We do now.
We do have someone now. Okay, go ahead, let them go first.
Mike Elfenbein. Mr. Elfenbein, please unmute.
Thank you. Sorry, I was slow to push the hand up. I appreciate it. Mike Elfenbein, Cypress chapter of the Isaac Walton League. There was a point in your presentation, which was very good, by the way. We're very supportive of this project and grateful that it's finally happening. I'm very grateful to Drew and the district for taking command of the Blue Shanty and expediting it. So thank you guys so much. But I did have a question. You mentioned in there briefly about some farm ditches and filling in some farm ditches. And I wonder if that's not the ditches that are intersecting throughout 3B. And if so, I have slight concerns and wondered if there's not a way to mitigate that, is that those ditches have created quite a fishery. In fact, when much of that area goes dry, it's about the only place left for fish to have a refugia, as well as other species, but fish specifically. And I wondered, are you guys taking that into account? Will there be no ditch at all? What does that look like?
Yeah, thank you, Mike, for the question. And maybe we can circle back with the area that you're concerned with. But the ag ditch that I was talking to is our active contract right now along L67A, where we're building those culverts. And there's an agricultural ditch.
So it's the one that runs along the levee you're talking about?
Yes.
Not,
It's,
not the ones that run parallel to the highway.
It is parallel to US 41.
Okay, so we're probably talking about the same ditches.
Okay.
And so those are gonna be,
Mike?
those ditches won't exist at all? Yes, sir, go ahead.
Yeah, hey, I know the ones you're talking about. The ditch that's in the backfill with this project is not the ones that all the tour guides use. It is a
Okay.
much smaller one that exists between the L67 and the L67A. The ones that traverse across 3B are not in the plan to backfill.
Awesome. Thanks for the clarity, Drew. Appreciate it. Thank you, Cece.
Thank you, Mike.
Anyone else? I just want to ask a question. Everglades Holiday Park, it's on L67, correct? And that canal runs south for a lot of ways. Is this going to impact the entrances off that canal over into WCA 3? A couple of 3 along there.
I know where that is, so no, it's not. This is much farther south.
Thank you. That answered my question. The reason I asked that is there was some many years ago when decomp was a hot issue, and some people here probably don't remember it. We used to get 25 or 30 bass fishermen to these meetings, and they were very, very excited about where they could get access from the canal into the marsh. And I see culverts and whatever mentioned here, so we'll see. Thank you very much. And I want to thank the Corps for doing this, because they have to go to a lot of trouble to put together their presentations, and it's very, very much appreciated. These folks are working on our time, not their time right now, and that's appreciated. I also want to say thank you to the Colonel. Recreation and Lake Okeechobee kind of go hand in hand, and the Colonel had made a gallant effort to put in what was called recover in order to get the lake level down so the SAV could resprout and regrow, and we needed 12 feet. And Mother Nature has cooperated, and the bit of water that the Colonel was nice enough to move out of the lake has been very helpful. And it looks like we just went down into below 13 feet today or yesterday. So the vegetation that's actually starting to resprout on Lake Okeechobee, we have very little of it left, SAV, and every day counts that the lake can stay somewhere under 13 feet down to 11. And it's just appreciated by literally thousands and thousands and thousands of people to get that lake back in good health, because right now it's hurting. So thanks to Corps, appreciate it very much. Thank you. Okay, we'll move to the next agenda item. CEPP North update, Greg Nolte, the project manager for the district, and appreciate it, Greg.
All right. So my name's Greg Nolte. I'm the project manager for CEPP North. I'm in the Engineering and Construction Bureau, and I think in the last year and a half, this is the third time that I've provided an update on CEPP North, and I appreciate the opportunity to provide the update. The agenda for my presentation is we'll go over the purpose and overview of the CEPP, which is really we heard in the previous presentation. I'll present the CEPP North features. I'd like to concentrate on updates on 3 of the features, those being the L5 Remnant Canal improvements, the S622 gated culvert, the S8 pump station modifications, and then review of the recreational plan for CEPP North. This is a similar map, and you heard the similar purpose. of CEPP is to increase quantity, quality, timing, and distribution of the water to the Central Everglades. And specific to CEPP North, it's to provide additional water to the northwest corner of the Water Conservation Area 3A to reduce periods of dry out and to improve habitat conditions. CEPP was divided into 4 phases. You have the CEPP EAA. It's to improve the conveyance, storage and treatment capacities. It's these blue projects to the north. You have the canal improvements, the Miami Canal, North New River Canal improvements, the STA, A2 STA, and A2 Reservoir. CEPP North redistributes the water from east to west along the northern portion of 3A, and that's these red projects, and that's what my presentation is all about. CEPP South increases flow out of the Water Conservation Area 3A by opening the southern end of the system, and that's the presentation that we just heard. That's this area down here in green. And then New Water provides seepage protection and keeping water in the park, and those are these projects along this eastern side of the Everglades National Park. So CEPP North features, there were 9 features that were presented in the 2014 PIR. They have changed a little bit. You heard a little discussion about validation reports. We're going through a validation report change right now. But those features are S620 gated culvert, S621, 622 is a gated culvert. That should be culvert. And I'd like to talk about that tonight. S8 pump station modifications, it was split into 2 phases. We'll touch base on those. S8A spillway and connecting canal, S630, the gated culvert, L4 canal improvements and distribution features, Miami Canal, backfill and vegetated hammocks, the L5 remnant canal improvements, and then the L5 improvements. And again, I'd like to concentrate on the 3 that are starred here. I'd also like to point out that all these projects are under some form of design or construction except for S8A spillway, and we're looking to start design on that here in the next couple months. So we're making progress on all the designs and all the features for CEPP North. This is just a quick update on S620. It was the first gated culvert that we constructed. It is these are some recent pictures of the structure. We're nearly complete. We're looking to finish construction later this year. And I'd just like to point out that we would like to ask the public that if you are going to access Sportsman's Crossing up here into Water Conservation Area 2A, that we continue to use this east-west road just north of our pump station S7 and not come down through our construction site. Our construction site is right down here. So this is what we've been using for the last year and a half or so, and we like to continue using that this year. Updates on L5 remnant. We've hit a couple milestones here in the last few months. So we've completed design in 2024. We've gone to governing board and received approvals. The L5 remnant canal, we went to February's governing board, and for S620, we went to the March governing board, received approvals. So we are gearing up to start construction. L5 remnant canal, we're looking to start in April. So next month, it'll probably be later in April, May. And for S622, we'll follow it by a month or so. We'll start in May, June of this year for 622. The designs include a kiosk, open shelter, a couple boat ramps with parking. 622 will allow crossing of from the north levee to the south levee, and eventually it'll replace the existing earthen plug that is Palmer's Crossing, as the earthen plug will become part of a canal. Also like to mention that the L5 remnant south levee will permanently be closed during this construction. The north levee, however, will remain open throughout all construction, as our personnel also needs to use it from US 27 to access S8. So all the public access along North Levee Road will remain open. All of the accesses into our STA 3-4, into Rotenberger, and into Holy Lands will also remain open. We are allowing blasting during construction of L5 remnant, so do expect some lane closures, temporary lane closures, meaning that while we're blasting, we'll stop the traffic. After we're done blasting, then we'll open the traffic back up to allow access, and that'll be on the north levee. This is just a typical schematic of what we plan to do. The dark dashed line is the existing ground. You can see we're looking to deepen and widen the existing remnant canal. We'll take that material, we'll add some of it on each of the benches to improve the benches, but the far majority of that material will go on the south side of the south levee, and we'll overbuild that levee, hence the reason why we need to close the south levee. This is a schematic of 622. 622 will go at the very west end of the L5 remnant. It'll be a 3-gated culvert. It'll have a 30-foot wide access road across the culvert to allow public access from the north levee to the south levee. There'll be a kiosk. Kiosk will have a parking. There'll be boat ramps. There'll be a downstream boat ramp that you see here. There'll also be an upstream boat ramp that's not shown on the exhibit. It's farther to the east. Essentially our typical design with stilling wells and tough booms and a debris removal. This portion of the canal will be excavated out. This is the existing Palmer crossing, and once that gets dug out, then your access will be across the structure itself. We'll maintain access from the north levee to the south levee throughout all of construction. This is another recent picture of the 620 structure. 622 will look very similar to 620. Also part of both these construction projects, as well as the L5 remnant canal, we will be building a dredge material management area, or a DMMA area. This roughly 50-acre parcel will be bermed around the perimeter, and then it will have some interior berms. We're expecting some hydraulic dredging of the L5 remnant canal. That dredge material would be pumped into this DMMA area to hold it, to allow the sediments to settle out of it. We'll also have a stockpile area here on this 28 acres parcel. Good, clean, reusable fill material will be placed here. We'll also have a construction trailer site. It'll be right along the entrance road into Harold A. Campbell parking area. It will be fenced off. We do anticipate that trailer sites being there for 3 to 5 years. There are no plans to close Harold A. Campbell public use, so that will remain open at all times. And then, as I mentioned before, all the accesses north of the north levee will remain open. All your accesses into STA 3-4, Rotenberger, and Wildlife, and Holy Lands will all remain open. Our S8 pump station modifications, we are completing construction on Phase 1. Phase 1 was the crane refurbishment. We've refurbished the crane because we're going to need to use the crane when we refurbish the pumps. So we're finishing up construction. It's scheduled to be complete next month, and we're going to move right into the pump station modifications for Phase 2. We'll start those then in April, and they will have a construction duration of about 3.5 years. We're looking at winter of 2028 and completing those. Traffic will be routed to the trash rake bridge when service to the service bridge is closed, and we will provide public notices through the district's webpage of any of these closures and when these closures will occur. Review of the CEPP North Recreational Plan. The PIR Rec Plan identified recreational access along the L5 levee was very important to maintain. There were 3 shelters at key access points, and then maintain access along the L4 levee and into Rotenberger and Holy Land wildlife management areas. Our designs have accomplished that and a little bit more. The L5 remnant levee is to remain open, as I mentioned, 24/7 throughout the construction, as our own personnel needs that access to S8. However, as I mentioned too, the south levee of the L5 remnant portion will be closed during construction. We've recognized the 3 existing L5 levee ramps into the conservation area. They are included in our design for the L5 portion, and those ramps will be upgraded. We've included 3 shelters with parking. We saw one with the S622. A second one is in our L4 canal improvement design. The PIR mentioned this here in the Miami Canal. This is our S339 structure. I don't know if a kiosk will go down there, but there's plenty of opportunity to put the 3rd kiosk up around S8. It hasn't been identified quite yet, but there's plenty of opportunity to locate it. 2 boat ramps within the L5 canal with parking. They will maintain vehicle access. We'll maintain the vehicle access across the L5 canal. We're relocating the existing L4 ramp. We've identified it into the Conservation 3A. That will be relocated and maintained. Access will be maintained there. Same with, there is an existing boat ramp south of S8. Our S8A design is going to impact that, but there'll be plans to relocate that boat ramp into Miami Canal to head south in the canal. Public currently has open access to the entire length of the L5 and L4 levees from US 27 through S8 24/7, and that access will be maintained, and you'll have continuous access into the Rotenberger and Holy Lands wildlife management areas. So with that, I think that was the end of my presentation. I'd be more than happy to take any questions. Mr. John.
John Rozier, Full Track Club. Okay, going east from the crossover, the L5 south, is that going to be, once you start construction, nobody will be able to go that way up to the back of the Bass Hole?
Yes.
That won't be blocked off?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
The remnant portion, I'm sorry, I should have explained. The remnant portion is from Palmer's Crossing to US 27.
Okay.
So the south levee between that portion will
All
be
right,
closed.
that'll be, nobody will be able to access it anymore.
Correct.
You'll have guys.
During construction. After construction, yes, you'll be able to access it again.
Okay, but okay, because you're gonna have a bunch of guys complain about that. Not many, but you're gonna have some. Also, currently at the crossover is a pretty big area that during recreation season, hunting season, everybody camps at. Once the 622 goes in and we lose all that, is there gonna be an area that big enough again in that area for us to use?
Dan, sure.
Hey, John. Yeah, I think we're, if you can look back on Greg's slide, when all that fill material is going to be placed on those two big pads adjacent to Harold Campbell, that may be an ideal spot for that. And we'll evaluate that, but right there, which is right next to what you're talking about, I think, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's across the street. Because what I'm concerned about is, like, we just had our big snipe hunt and everybody gets, we had a couple hundred people there. Is that if you take away that large area and across the street, you guys got fill on it and a trailer and all that, or not the trailer, actually, that's gonna be the other, then we're not gonna have any big area for the guys to camp. Even during hunting season, that's an area where a lot of people, camp, go into 3 days. So as long as we have something that is similar in size, and if you can go across the street, maybe leave us, I mean, it's a pretty big area you're gonna be using, maybe leave us 100 feet or something like that, that would be accessible for us to go over there and do our, and just like Broward Club too, we have cleanups or frog gig, whatever, we have a get-together, that's usually where we go. So, and I know when it's all said and done, we'll be back to be able to use some of this stuff, so during construction, if we lose one of it, and like you said, for 3 to 5 years, as long as we have another big space to go to, that'll make everybody happy, make it where that.
Okay. Well, maybe we can talk about that,
Yeah.
during construction, if there's an area there on that stockpile that we can set aside during construction, but good point.
And my other, yes, I came here just for this meeting. The L4.
Yes.
Now, I've heard, now it's not gonna be degraded, it's just gonna be culverts put in it.
Yeah, the L4 design has changed quite a bit from the PIR. We're going to expand the canal to be able to convey the amount of water that we want to convey. Because we have to expand the canal, the south levee is going to be moved south, slightly south. There'll be 3 culverts that go through that relocated south levee, and then downstream of those 3 culverts will be spreader swales. So that's what our design is.
All right, so my next question.
And all of that is within the L4 right-of-way.
Okay.
All of,
So my next question is, access to 3A to the west side, down the L4 is quite a ways down, at least a quarter mile or so until you get out of the thick brush. And there's a drop-off spot that we go into. We don't like going into it because it's kind of steep, but it's the only access from the L4. When you guys get done, are we still gonna be able, I mean, I don't want a culvert going right where, and it's fairly obvious where we go in at, that I don't want a culvert going right there that now we can't drop in. Because what it is when we come up on the levee with our buggies, there's a in the road, a pull-off, that you guys make like every quarter mile.
Yep.
And that's where it's at. That's where we come up at.
Yep.
So if we don't have that coming up on the levee with a track or something, the levee's only so wide. So if you're not gonna degrade it, that's why before when you guys said you were gonna degrade it, make it wide and lower, oh, great, that's even better. So if you're not gonna do that, we're still going up, what, Kyle, 10 feet? Or however high the levee is, climbing up and then having to stop and turn to go down. So that might be something, I don't know how far you are into the designing of where the culverts are gonna go, but that's gonna be a consideration, that access into 3B, I mean, not 3B.
3A, yeah.
The west side we call it.
Yep. So we have identified that area where you access. that area will, that access will probably go away, but we'll need to relocate it. We're looking to relocate it. And what we're doing is we're looking to relocate it a little to the east. Miami Canal, we're going to build a connector canal from the Miami Canal up to L4. And I would imagine that ramp would be relocated to the levee for that connector canal is where we're looking to relocate that.
Okay, but like I said, keep in mind, that corner, and it goes out for probably 30, 40 acres, is nothing but holly bushes and myrtles and everything else. There used to be years ago a trail through there that we would go out, but it's no longer there, which is why we would go down the L4 and drop in. So wherever you're gonna make the access at, you gotta make sure we have access.
Okay,
You know.
understood.
Just to put a spot and say, there's your access, that I gotta try to drive through trees that are, 8 inches thick to get out into the grass. It's not gonna do us any good, so, and we didn't mention it before because we thought the L4 was gonna be degraded, that if you're gonna put an access down there, maybe we could get another ramp built, like you're doing the 3 ramps that are already there, that we could get one on the L4, for access. Depending on where you want to put it, if you want to put it further down or whatever. Because like I said, when the project was first went out, I said, okay, the L4 is going to be degraded. We were happy because now you have better access, it's lower, but now, you guys have switched gears, so access is important for us on the west side, to go from the pump station, that area out there. And I also, Kyle told me that camping around the pump stations is not gonna happen because you guys are gonna have equipment there anyway. So that's something that we have to wait down the road, so.
Yeah.
So just keep in mind that during hunting season, there might be, 30, 40 buggies, total, depends on how many permits and all that stuff that people come out in their campers and all that. We are gonna need some areas to get access, to put our stuff at.
Sure. Okay, thank you, yeah. We'll take that in consideration.
Like you mentioned, there's a line, you can see it, there's a line where the willow bushes stop and the sawgrass starts. That boat ramp and access area has to be to the west of that willow area because it's pretty much impassable.
Okay. Thank you for that comment.
Yes, Bishop?
We don't want you guys to cut us a path through, because forget it.
They kind of reached out, they have more knowledge on this, but I just want to make sure that we, if we're going to lose the crossover, we need the most camping we can get back around the pump station. That still gives you equipment parking though too. So these guys, I know more about it and they spoke on it, but I just want to make sure y'all understand, we're going to lose a lot of camping there at the crossover. So we're going to need to gain that back somewhere. So we need to kind of focus on that and look for that. And the pump station, we lost a lot because of the new signage, but I would hope we can move those signs back to give us room and give you room.
Very good.
Thank you.
Anyone else on this particular presentation? Anybody on Zoom?
We have no hands raised on Zoom, Mr. Cook.
Excuse me, may I
We have someone in the back, I think, raised hand. Yes, sir, go ahead.
Yes, sir, John Escobar with the FSCA. I just have a question because I don't understand quite. Will there be access to 3A North off of that south levee for anybody for airboats, recreational use? Or is that going to be closed off and you're going to have to access from the south where Alligator Alley is?
No, there'll be access on the western portion off the south levee of the L5. The eastern portion is the portion that we're closing. From the Palmer's Crossing east to US 27, that area will be closed.
Please use your mic.
Use your mic, please. Punch the button. Thank you.
Excuse me. Nobody goes that way to put an airboat or anything in. It's just that, you know, it's a road that during the hunting season, guys will go down and drop off with a four-wheeler or something like that, so.
Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome. Thank you.
Okay, is that it? Still no one on Zoom?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you, Greg. Great presentation. Great. Next on the agenda is vegetation management and stormwater treatment areas. Nathan Raff, section leader, Water Management District. Nate?
All right, good evening. My name is Nathan Ralph. I'm a section leader here with the district. I'm in land resources and I work in the veg management section. What I'm going to be talking about tonight is some of the veg management principles that we utilize in the STAs. All right, so a little history, why we have STAs. The Everglades Forever Act from 1994 was a mandate that directed the district to construct and operate 6 stormwater treatment areas. The goal is to take stormwater runoff and run it through filter marshes before that water gets down to the Everglades. So we run it through plants and then we put it back in the system downstream so it's got lower nutrients as it works its way down to the Everglades. All right, so what we've got here is a map of our, okay, yeah, there we go. All right, so over here is STA 1 East. This little blue box up here is the L8 FEB. To the west is STA 1 West. This little parcel over here on the left is 1 West expansion number 1. There's a little triangle down here. It's expansion number 2 for 1 West. And you've got STA 2, the A1 FEB, STA 3-4. This is where the A2 reservoir is going to be constructed. We've got the A2 STA, which has been constructed, STA 5 and 6, and then the C139 FEB. So as a result, with all this wetland, there's a lot of opportunity for public recreation. Some of the more popular activities, we've got alligator hunting, waterfowl hunting, fishing, bird watching, hiking, biking, and even stargazing. All right, so I'll just kind of go through a little bit of how STAs operate. This example will be STA 3-4. So we've got 3 independent flowways. This one here, 1A and 1B, is the eastern flowway. In the middle is the central flowway, 2A to 2B. Flow goes from north to south. And then over on the west side, you've got 3A to 3B. So just kind of looking a little closer at the eastern flowway. What happens is water from the canals that's pumped in. There's two main pump stations that can actually feed this flowway. These little red boxes are gated culverts. And so they open simultaneously, and we bring water in. It flows through this top cell. The green arrows indicate flow. Then as it works its way down through the vegetation, there's another series of gated culverts. Goes through there into this bottom cell, 1B, and then after it finishes that treatment, it goes through the last set of gated culverts and into a discharge canal. And then from there, it can go a couple of different ways in the conservation areas. All right, so the vegetation, this top cell 1A, typically we like to have this full of emergent plants. The goal here is to, when the water's coming in through those gated culverts, it's typically, there's a lot of suspended material. It's coming in at a high rate of speed. So immediately downstream of those structures, we've actually got a spreader canal. So the water comes in, fills that canal, and what we're looking for is sheet flow through this vegetation. So we have dense cattail here as an example, but typically we'll have cattail, giant bulrush, alligator flag. I'm not sure what's going on with my mouse. There we go. I don't know why it's not showing up. I see it on my screen, but I don't see it on that screen. Okay, anyways.
Which one?
There we go.
Okay.
Thanks. Okay, so that's the top cell. Then from there, so the bottom cell is what we call mixed marsh. And the dark green was similar to the A cell where we have an emergent community that we compartmentalize the cell. These lighter green squares are where we're looking to have SAV. And so these are just different communities. The reason we compartmentalize, I mean, this cell in this example is 3,500 acres. So if this was all SAV, we could have a lot of problems, and I'll show you what happened a few years ago in another SDA. So we compartmentalize this cell in case there's wind or wave action. That SAV, if it does get uprooted, it doesn't continue this domino effect and pull the rest of it out with it. So this is kind of a typical design for what we're looking for. All right, so what you're looking at here is we're over in STA 1 East, cell 6 now, back in 2009. So you've got cell 6 over here, and here's the central flowway. In 2009, we had a rain event in July. It wasn't anything spectacular, but we moved a lot of water through this western flowway. And back then, cell 6 had a lot of, it was mainly SAV. We didn't have a lot of emergent in that cell. As a result, we lost 90% of our SAV. We were moving water through this flowway. What it did was it uprooted that SAV. So these red lines indicate where all that SAV accumulated. So this top red line is the collection canal to cell 6. That was full of SAV. Then once whatever got through the structure, it filled the entire discharge canal that wrapped around. Here's our outflow pump station, S362. And then it went back up, around, over, and you can't see it, but there's another cell over here, cell 2. So these images that you're looking at, here's that pump station, S362. This is actually a crane that was used to pull the SAV that had accumulated in front of the pump station. And there's a pile of it right here. Another view from the pump station over here is the harvesting. We used a harvester to mechanically remove. You can see all that SAV in the front. And then this last image over here is from the pump station looking north, so this way. And you can see all the SAV that had accumulated in the canal. So the reason I show you this is a lot of what we do with these STAs we're learning on the fly. This was a lesson we learned back in 2009 that we don't want just purely SAV in a cell like this. We need to have some redundancy. The emergent vegetation actually, that we've compartmentalized this cell, and what that does is that helps when you get a wind or rain event to keep all that SAV from being uprooted. Okay, so going back to 3.4, this is just another aerial image showing kind of the snapshot of like what we're generally trying to do. So this is the western flowway. This is 3A up here, 3B down here. Flow goes from north to south. So in the upstream cell, we're looking to have dense emergent vegetation as full as possible. Again, so when the water comes in, slows the water down, a lot of those bigger particles fall out. We'll get our maximum sedimentation in this cell, and we're looking to have even flow and distribution through here. And in the downstream cell, what we're looking for is a mixed marsh environment where we have a series of veg strips, but we also have a lot of open water. Over time, these will fill in with cattails and other emergent plants. And so we'll go back from time to time and do treatments to open these areas up. In fact, we're doing that now in STA 3.4 and all 3 of our B cells, and we have plans to do some of that up at C44 to open up some areas where it's just there's not enough open water. Okay, so in this image, this is another issue that we have to deal with. This is STA 2 cell 3. This is an old image. It doesn't look like this anymore, but just trying to show the point. So flow comes in up from the north here and flows south. this area over to the west is a short circuit, most likely created by some airboat traffic. And I don't know if you can see it, but there's actually a turbidity plume, like kind of on the edge of where this mouse is. So what happens is water is always going to gravitate to the path of least resistance. So if we've got openings like this kind of thing is going to happen. And this may have started small, but it'll get wider as we move more water through, as there's more traffic. It'll literally pull all the sediment out of here too. So, you know, I'm about to show you what we do when we get these short circuits, but sometimes if it gets too far, we can't go back and replant it. Okay, so in this image, what you can see in the white polygon is an area where we've gone back after we had a short circuit and we've planted it with emergent plants. So this is just natural cattail that comes in this cell, but we had this short circuit. So this dark green plant is all giant bulrush, and then it's kind of hard to see, but it's leafy. This is alligator flag that's planted down below. That will fill in. And the reason we like to have multiple plants is because if one of the plants dies off, it's good to have another species so that you get some sort of treatment. So, and sometimes we don't know which one of these will be the most successful, so we try to mix them, you know, and see what works. Okay, so in this image, what you're looking at is flow is coming from this direction. We used to just allow access from wherever in the cell. These are the outflow structures. So people would take their canoes and kayaks across that outflow canal, and they would just, you know, look for whatever path they could get to open water. And then you can and I'm not saying this image is from a hunter or anything like that. I'm just kind of showing you what we used to do. But what happens is if this area gets open like this, we'll start to develop short circuits. You can even see the fill that's being pushed out into the canal. So what we try to do now is we're creating access paths that are perpendicular to flow. So this image over on the right, flow goes this way, and I believe this was a walking path that was hand cut. Someone walked that out to provide access to the open area. And we're good with these because the flow goes this way, and this path is perpendicular to the flow. So in this next image, we use a Marshmaster. It's a piece of equipment we have here at the district, similar to that last image on the right, where flow would go this way from right to left. We're out creating an access path with this piece of equipment. We make a couple of passes, and you've got a pretty nice trail without a whole lot of effort. This image here on the right, same thing, but it's just the first pass. The Marshmaster, you got to make a couple of passes with it because the middle, it doesn't knock down the vegetation. All right, so these last couple of slides, I'm basically just reaching out to this community. We had a couple of issues this last January, the waterfowl hunting, and I know you guys are passionate, but we need you guys to help us to make sure people are doing the right thing out there. So what happened here, this is STA 1 West, Cell 7. This basically, as you work your way across these images, it just gets closer in scope. So here's Cell 7. Flow comes from the right to left, and then there's this canal where the water runs down, and it goes to this outflow structure here. And over in this image, you can kind of see the same thing. There's a canal on the inside, so flow goes across this way, comes down, and then we've got our outflow structure down here at the bottom of that canal, G732. These circles, I know they're hard to see, but they're paths that were created by hunters that cross this canal to get into this open water. I mean, there's signs out there, so I'll show you why this is an issue. So in this photo, you're on that west levee looking across that collection canal. There's a path right here going to this water. There's another path here. So the problem is the water is coming this way towards you. It doesn't look like an issue right now because we're not moving a lot of water. But in the wet season, or if we have a lot of water we're moving through, water's going to be higher. It's going to move through this open area. It's going to make this path bigger. In addition, it can remove the sediment that's here, creating scours. So if we want to go back and plant this, it's very difficult because the plants just don't want to stay. Water's always going to gravitate to these little shortcuts, so it's circumventing the treatment. So that's why we're trying to minimize this kind of activity. All right, and the last one, STA 3-4, cell 2B. So this is cell 2B over here on the left, up at the north end. We had a similar situation. Flow goes south like this, up at the inflow. So in this image on the right, you can see here's the levee. This is a little path that was cut through. Here's the spreader canal. And then there's another path. I know it's hard to see, but it connects to the open water to the south. And then here's an image looking from the north to the south. So I'm just trying to reach out to this community. We need you guys to communicate with your fellow hunters to just make sure they're doing the right thing. Thank you. Questions?
All right, guys, anybody have any questions? Yes, sir.
Hey, how's it going? Thanks for that presentation. Mark Barton with Backcountry Hunters and Anglers. I've been preaching this for a while, so I feel like a broken record, but I've been saying this, we need to educate people on how the STAs work. So this presentation was awesome. And like you said, it's really hard to get that information out to the rest of the community. You know, there's tens of people here. There's thousands of hunters that use the STAs. But if you'd like to talk about this outside of this meeting, I have tons of ideas on how you could do this, and I've been talking about this for years. But one point I'd like to make, in your presentation, you called some of these access points that hunters created illegal access points, but they're not illegal. If you'll go back to the map where you were showing multiple, this one right here, I've hunted that cell, and people aren't going across the road because we were told that we're not allowed to. We have to access the marsh from the parking spot. Well, what you can do, if you go down to the south of that cell, where the parking spot is, or the north, you can put in your kayak and paddle all the way down the canal. It's a 2.5 mile paddle. It sucks. But if the ducks are there, the hunters are going to do it. And it's not illegal for us to go through that vegetation strip if we do it that way. So I think the rules need to be made very clear that we can't cut through those vegetation strips that are going, in this particular case, north to south, in the other cells in STA 3-4, and 2, the ones that go east to west. I think that needs to be made very clear to the hunters, because the way that the rules are currently written, it's not clear. And hunters are always going to do whatever they can to get to the spots where the ducks are. So I think we just need to fix the wording in those regulations.
Yeah, and I agree. This STA, this cell in particular, is a little unique compared to a lot of the other ones where the flow's north to south, and this one, things are going east to west. It is kind of a unique design. I'd love to get your input. Maybe we need to do some sort of signage inside the marsh. It gets a little tricky when you do that, though, because the marsh is always changing. So, but I appreciate your comment.
I don't know if signage inside of the marsh is necessary, but I think there's definitely ways to make the rules a little more clear for the people that are not paying attention to this presentation. It needs to be incredibly obvious and clear for those people, because most hunters, unfortunately, they're not paying attention to the details that everybody in this room is, So, but we can talk more later. I've got a few ideas on how you could approach this.
Okay.
And I agree, you bring this up every time. So Nathan, y'all exchange phone numbers so you can collaborate on this if you don't mind.
Next. Well, I just want to say the attempt to, I like that word pass. We used to have some words we weren't allowed to use with SCAs, with cutting paths. Trails was one of them. STA 1 West, I think, is the worst one, because the way it's orientated north to south with the canal on the west side. You got to remember, probably half the people that go out to hunt on the SDAs have never been there before, or it's been 4 or 5 years since they got a permit. And they don't get to scout them because it's basically only half a day a year. So you're going to consistently have problems of people who are driving along and they look over there and they see ducks and they don't see anything but just a little bit of bulrush between the road and the ducks. It's a problem. We put the law enforcement on it. The drop and paddle people pretty well stopped that, but the other people who just paddle in the open water. Going up that canal is not all that difficult. If you're on the levees where you can get parking spots and you want to go north up there where that top red line is there, it's almost impossible to do. And if you did it, you have to be about 18 years old and an athlete. And then you're going to be wore out. And then at the end of the morning, you got to turn around and go back the other way. We need to look at this and try to come up with something a little smarter about how we can get people's access without cutting these trails. There has to be a way. There has to be a zigzag. There has to be some way that we can get people in those areas. Sir, go ahead.
Thomas McGoldrick with the Florida Sportsman. So where we've got the issue of them coming across or coming in from a canal, whether it's going east to west, north to south, and they're accessing from the opposite direction, just barricade the canals off. You've got the access, whether it's they're coming from the east to the west. All right, you want them out of the north-south canals, where those canals join, put a barricade across them. It stops the issue because you're not allowed to come in off of those north to south roads at that point. And FWC is watching that side of it. So it'll put an end to it. It's a very simple fix.
Definitely writing tickets, so we're doing about everything we can do. Been around the SCAs a while, and we have a pretty good idea of what happens with the first cells being emergent. It used to be, if I remember correctly, B cells that were kind of like 50-50 emergent and SAV, and then we had C cells that were all solid SAV, just flat SAV. And those are normally on an area where you didn't have this paddle problem because they were normally at the end of the flow. I like the idea of putting some cattails in the little squares, but that was 2009, and we haven't had a storm since, and we might not ever have one like that again. And that was one west that got wrapped up. I remember it well. We have to kind of maybe rethink a little bit about if we're going to have 20-year storms, we're going to make it difficult for the public to access an area. Just some thinking involved here. The parking spots are horrendous because we're paddling all the we have 40 permits, and we have basically 2 one-mile levees. And they launch, and they have paddles longer than the levees are on that they launch from, just to get to reasonable open water. Now, the SDAs are run last place as a duck hunter. That's the last guy on the list in terms of what they run for. But I think, particularly on One West, there needs to be some creative thinking about how we can get access to those really good areas. I've never understood why, where we have the zigzag, that we can't get a few parking spots on the zag part of the zig, because they do not run with the current. And believe me, one launch spot, we can put four numbers on it, and that would cut out a lot of this north-south paddling distance. But I do want to commend the people for trying, because I do work with them. Some of John Monty and I ride with them out there, and it is a struggle. So it's a big issue, though, because when the SDAs were set up with the ABC cells, I call them, the 15% of all the ducks shot in Florida were shot on 3 SDAs. It's just incredible. People call from all over the world. And there's no reason we can't at least work on that. And those trails, I'll use that word, that were cut, and 3, 4 were very helpful. But if you can't paddle a kayak down them, they're not really much of a trail, quite frankly. If they're just laid over cattails, that's not good. Those trails need to be actually cut and not laid over cattails. If you need to get a kayak, go out there and just try to access, you'll get an idea of what people go through. And I have to always say, we all know these places are not run, they're under court order for the duck hunters. And every little bit thing you can help to help the duck hunters is appreciated. Very much appreciated. Anyone else have anything else before we move on? Thank you very much, sir.
Sure.
All right, the 7th item on the agenda is the recreational projects and facilities updates. Mike Cheek, recreational project manager. Mike?
Oh, shoot, okay. Close it out or? It's started. Okay. Okay, thanks, Yvette. Thanks, Newton. Thanks for sticking around, y'all. It's the final presentation of the evening. Just give you an update on what we've been doing since our last meeting in October was the last time we gave an update, so quite a bit going on. I'll go through these slides rather quickly here. As you know, the C44 STA was opened in May of last year. The activity is currently limited to Audubon birding tours right now, but we just want to share with you today that construction of the rec features is currently underway. A contract was awarded, so we expect those features to be complete by early next year, 2026. And currently, FWC and district biologists are evaluating the potential for limited entry gator and waterfowl hunts as early as this fall. And the report I heard from several weeks ago, they did an overflight of some of the cells in the STA, and it looks promising for a quality waterfowl hunt in several of the cells. So it looks, at this point, like we might have a small number of quotas for this fall if we pull everything together in time. So that's good news on that front. And just a reminder what these rec features will look like at the C44 reservoir and STA. There'll be a parking lot at the top of the reservoir as well as at the base of the reservoir for trailers and vehicles. We're resurfacing the boat ramp into the reservoir. It's a large drop from the top of the crest of the levees, like 30 feet above ground. So we're resurfacing that ramp to have deeper grooves to make it safer. There'll be kiosks and interpretive signage at these parking lots. There'll be 2 prefabricated concrete restrooms and then shelters and benches at the parking areas, as well as some exterior corners of the STAs like you see in the bottom right photo there. And another site that just opened in February 13th, the governing board adopted officially 10 Mile Creek Water Preserve Area as a public use area. This is in St. Lucie County. It's a 526 acre reservoir and a small STA there, 132 acres off to the east. The reservoir is this larger section here on the left. The STA is a small area here. And activities are hiking, biking, wildlife viewing, and fishing is allowed in the STA portion of this property. And access, just so you know, it's off of Gordy Road. This is up by Fort Pierce here, coming off Highway 70. There's an entrance to the Gordy Road Recreation Area, which is managed by St. Lucie County. There's a Frisbee golf park there. You'll park there just underneath this compass on this aerial map. And the entrance is over here on the east side of the STA. This project, you may have seen, we had a ribbon cutting ceremony at the end of last year, the C139 flow equalization basin. Public use is not currently allowed there. The construction was completed. They're in testing phases of filling the basin. And we're in the public use and recreation planning phase right now to determine what will end up being out there. It's a large area, 11,000 acres, but we anticipate similar features at some of the other sites. There'll be a parking area at the base of the levee, a boat ramp into the FEB, kiosk interpretive signage again, one restroom at the base of the levee, and then shelters and benches at the parking area, as well as maybe one on the exterior levee on a corner. Activities likely anticipated to be out there will be hiking, biking, canoeing, kayaking, wildlife viewing, fishing, and then limited entry quota hunts for waterfowl and gators. So that's upcoming. You'll certainly hear when that's finalized. This is just a sample of a kiosk interpretive panel that we replaced at Taylor Creek STA. This is north of the town of Okeechobee, one of the most popular STAs visited. Even though it's a small area, a lot of people go there for lunch breaks, run around, bike around. Great place to see wildlife, but this is just a sample of what the standard kiosk panel we're trying to achieve is, the little bit of information about the site. You see in the middle some of the wildlife you might expect to see there. There's an aerial map in the inside with activities that are allowed. And we like to start getting more of these QR codes on all our kiosks that'll bring you to the recreation page. And then eventually leading to the an Avenza compatible map. You'll be able to navigate on the property using your phone. We're not there yet, but that current QR code leads you to the rec main page of our website. And so, yeah, you've heard me talk about bathrooms before in previous meetings. Just to recap, last year we did replace 3 restrooms in 3 of our busier STAs, one in STA 1 West, and then Harold Campbell Boat Ramp, as well as STA 3-4. And this year, 2025, we're slated to put in 4 new of these prefab concrete restrooms, 2 in Okeechobee County, one at Nubbin Slough STA, right off the Beeline Highway there as you approach Okeechobee from the south, and then a new bathroom there at Taylor Creek, a much visited site. And then in Martin County in Dupuy, we'll have a new bathroom at the family camp. And then further south in Dupuy, in Palm Beach County at the Dupuy Group Camp. So these will be welcome additions to these sites. That, for example, the Dupuy Group Camp, they've been using portalets in the past, so this will be a welcome improvement to those sites. This, just to let you know, a contract has been awarded for a design and build of the Crew Bookery Swamp Boardwalk. It's a 1,400-foot boardwalk, one of the largest we have, one of the most visited as well, very popular with folks from the southwest coast. So design and construction of the project will be this year and hopefully completion by next year. This is just pointing out a new campsite that was put in the Crew Wildlife Environmental Area down in Collier County. It's kind of hard to see, but this is the hunting brochure map. There's the yellow star down here. We're calling the campsite Keel Oaks. So it's now available on the SUL site to sign out. That apparently came from a lot of public interest to camp near this pond. And I've already seen some photos of a lot of folks using it this season, so it's good news there, new campsite available. And regarding campsites, we just went through a whole district-wide review of all the campsites in terms of what firing needs and picnic tables. Wherever they were dilapidated, falling apart, we came up with the inventory of what was needed. So we looked at 57 unique camping properties. Most of the tables and rings that were replaced were up in Kisso on the Kissimmee River. And then we're in the process of the last area that remains. We'll be putting new rings and picnic tables on the upper chain of lakes, Lake Kissimmee, Hatch and Hall, et cetera. So we're getting information on what's needed up there currently. And just in the process, yeah, I realized we have over 176 individual campsites at the district. So quite an impressive array of free camping available to the public. So it's a great resource. And all these are up to snuff now currently, except the Kissimmee chain of lakes. On this, I've presented this in previous meetings, but this is just official recognition of the Kissimmee River Blueway Trail. It was formally adopted by the Department of Environmental Protection Office of Greenways and Trails in September of last year. And as a reminder, this is almost an 80-mile trip from north to south, from Highway 60 up at the base of Lake Kissimmee all the way to Lake Okeechobee. So it's a paddling trail, not for the faint of heart. It's estimated six days to do. And yeah, believe it or not, we've already had a couple large kayaking groups that have paddled this trip. And yeah, it went well. It's the sites are dispersed about 10 to 15 miles between them. So you have a day's paddle, and then you'll have a campsite along that route. So this is just a map from the website, but that's been officially adopted. And this is big news I'd like to share with y'all. This is the district-wide recreational guidebook that we've been working on diligently for quite a while now. A lot of folks at the district, the GIS group, land stewardship group. And this hasn't been done in probably 15 years, so this is long overdue. We'll have a paper handheld guide with all the public use recreation areas in the 5 management regions here on the map. And this will be about an 8.5 by 5.5 size guidebook, and hard copies will hopefully be available to distribute for the next public use forum, if not sooner. So just zooming in to inside the guidebook, this is just a sample from Taylor Creek, photos from the property, a brief description of what's there, icons showing what activities are allowed on the property, and then this clean, simplistic map of the features that are there, campsites, designated entrances, kiosk, benches, and things like that. At the top, there'll be directions how to get to the site, number of acres on the property. And yeah, believe it or not, we have a lot of requests for this paper hard copy map. So this will be a welcome addition for folks. And we're hoping this can help answer some of the questions we get on the recreation hotline as well. Some simple questions that people currently can't get on the website. And a follow-up to this, and probably even more valuable in the long term, will be the interactive map, which we're still working on. It's in progress. This is just a sample from Dupuy of what it'll look like. This will be similar to some of the other water management districts, FWC's website, but folks will be able to zoom in individually on campsites, see actual photos of what's there. A lot of times people call the rec hotline, say, is this place in open sun? Is it under trees? What's it look like? How far is it from the canal? Is it near the main river? And a lot of that information will be available when you just click on the sites, and eventually it will lead you to the SUL permit site to sign out those reservations for the campsites. And this is in progress, again, not in the immediate future. It's a big project, but looking forward to that. This is a proposal on the table for another access point to the Kissimmee River we'd call Seaboard Marsh. So the idea is we're proposing putting a special use license combination lock at the gate here off of 721. This is just south of Fort Bassinger. And you would drive your vehicle down along the CSX Railroad down to the main channel of the Kissimmee River. And zooming in, it's just a very logical place for a public access point. There's this cul-de-sac of Shell Rock Road that was put in during the river restoration project by the Corps. So it leads you right to the main channel of the river. And we would probably put post and rail fencing here to keep folks away from the river, maybe a primitive canoe kayak launch there. Folks could launch there, and then a limited number of folks could hunt and access that unit just to the north, which is not currently available except by water. Another proposal that came in recently via FWC was adding 2 days to the existing youth turkey hunts on some of our cooperatively managed properties. And we're on board with this as long as we're not excluding other public users during these hunts, which is typical on the other properties. We don't exclude other users as it is now. So we're supportive of this 2 additional days of youth turkey hunt. And the properties this would include would be Alapata, Crew, Dupuy, Kisso, the Kissimmee River, Lake Marion Creek, and the chain of lakes, including the Rolling Meadows unit. This, just to point out, the season's not completely over, but we already have had 19 FWC youth hunt programs this year, 7 gators, 2 turkey hunts, 9 deer and hog, and 1 waterfowl. And again, thanks to all the folks who coordinate that. There's a lot of coordination and planning that goes into these events ahead of time, scouting of properties, getting access, putting on combination locks on the gates. So big thanks to our youth hunt coordinator, James Harbaugh here at the district, helping people get out there in the field, finding good spots for this. And for some of these kids, it's the first time they've ever hunted maybe in their lives, so we want to try to give them the best experience possible. So they put in a lot of effort to have a quality opportunity. And then wounded warrior hunts, we've had 3 this season so far, 2 alligator hunts and 1 waterfowl. Again, another incredible cause. A lot of planning and effort go into this. You know, some folks may have not been afield for a long time, and this will be the first time in a long while, so it's a much appreciated event. And we thank all our cooperators, FWC, as well as the Wounded Warriors. Just point out a few volunteer events here before I wrap up. This was at the Istapoga Canal boat ramp off of Highway 98. And in February of this year, folks showed up to remove these boards on this airboat launch. It was not being used anymore. There was bolts, things sticking up, rough surfaces, tearing up the bottom of people's boats, so no one was using it anymore. So these volunteers, Florida Sportsmen's Conservation Association, Lake Okeechobee Airboat Association folks showed up, made incredibly quick work of removing these boards. By the end of the day, it looked like this. They pulled all those boards up. And not a huge group necessarily, but as soon as they show up, they go to town, all their own materials, equipment, drills. They went to town immediately, and you see the amount of debris, the wood they pulled, and this will be replaced with a contractor. We'll be replacing higher quality grade wood. And then, Marshall Davis showed up with our grapple truck, removed all that wood out of the site, so it's ready to go for the contractor soon. So big thank you to you guys, FSCA, Lake Okeechobee Airboat Association as well. Another good example of a volunteer event that occurred over the Christmas break here. This is Dupuy Group Camp. It's a church group led by Javier Gomez. He usually shows up about Christmas time over multiple years. He saw this need for the repairing of these benches. He approached James Harbaugh, said, how can we help? How can I get these benches improved for when we're out there? We supplied some materials, and again, just in a very small number of days, I believe, they made these incredible high-quality benches here, brand new fire ring at the group camp at Dupuy. So thank you again for this effort. They took it upon themselves to make this happen. Much appreciated. I've talked about these folks before, the SORBA, Southern Off-Road Bike Association. They're very active up in Shingle Creek, and they had an event in February just redoing this overpass. You can see they did a overpass over this tributary to Shingle Creek just to help reduce and prevent erosion into the tributary there. So a big thank you to those folks. That took place just in one day, and the final product is on the right there. And this just happened last weekend on the upper chain of lakes last Saturday. We posted new signage at 17 primitive campsites in the upper Kissimmee chain of lakes. And we had a huge turnout, 59 people, over 20 airboats, members from the Kissimmee River Valley Sportsmen's Association, Florida Sportsmen's Conservation Association, Lake Okeechobee, as well as others, folks in pontoon boats wanting to come and help. This was an effort. A lot of these campsites didn't have signage any longer. And it could be a law enforcement issue. You know, people will be hunting in areas where the camping is supposed to be designated and vice versa. So this helps law enforcement know where people are supposed to be camping. These folks showed out in a huge number. Thanks again to Brad Wyrock for putting these advertisements on social media, putting out the email to get this group together. He said he'd pull a lot of folks together, and he certainly did. Big turnout there. And this is a huge area. Just looking at the mileage, they covered over 43 miles of shoreline just in this one day. And you can see from this photo, this is Lake Kissimmee. Parts of Lake Kissimmee you can't even see across. It's a massive area. It takes a lot of manpower and hours to cover this on our own. You know, we're just a very small staffed group managing all this acreage. So thank you all for helping get into this. It wasn't hard labor-wise, but just in terms of the amount of area covered, getting these signs out, we much appreciate that work. Thank you, guys. And this is just an advertisement for an upcoming volunteer event on the Kissimmee River. This has been a recurring event around this time of the year in May. This is coming up May 3rd. We're having a volunteer work day scheduled, removing old fence posts and debris from the Kissimmee River floodplain and installation of public use signage. So if y'all can contact Matt Nelson at FSCA there at that email, or get with me. I can put you in contact with Matt. This is always a great event, big turnout, and the springtime, when the floodplain's dry, you can access a lot of these fence posts and things that are hazards when the water's higher. So great opportunity to add to that, enhance that restoration project. And so that's it. That's all I've got, folks. And I just wanted to remind you, just when you look at the numbers of the volunteer effort that you all put in with the district, last year you all logged over 17,000 hours of manpower out there on a variety of efforts. And when you look at the dollar amount, that's over $500,000 last year alone. And we're on track for similar numbers this year. And again, as I said, we're just a few people that manage all these properties for public use and recreation. So we couldn't do it without you, and thanks for your efforts. And that's it. So if there's any questions, comments?
Mike, thank you very much for, it's probably the most positive presentation we get at each of these meetings. With all the good things that are happening and have happened, and it is appreciated very much. I don't think that, well, I know, there's not another water management district in this state that can sit down and have a presentation like this. Not another one, because I deal with some of them, and they can't even come close. And I hope people appreciate the benefits that we get here. And Fred, I noticed several operations with trails, so glad to see that. And we appreciate you being here. And so who else out there has a comment? I have a couple myself. Go ahead, Bishop.
I just want to go back on history again. I know I've done that once tonight, but so we were privileged, and thank you all for setting us up to camp in Dupree at the visitor center. It's a lot nicer to clean alligators without the public around and camp without the public around and hold a youth hunt there. So it was really a pleasure. And Friday evening, I told some people FSCA built that fence many years ago. So probably 15 years ago. On the way out, there's a sign on it. It says May 9, 2003. I think Fred probably put that sign up there. So it goes back to show you that fence is still up is put on by volunteers. So when you come in the visitor center gate, that long fence all the way down the right, FSCA built that in 2003, March of 2003, and it's still there. So it goes to show you, these projects last a long time, and we're proud to do them, and we really enjoy doing them. And the last project was a really fun project, putting up all those camp signs. So that was a good thing, and looking forward to our Earth Day event coming up. And again, thanks for all of the youth hunts and everything, and hoping to put together a mentors hunt here coming up pretty soon. So see how that goes.
Yes, sir.
Matt Nelson, FSCA. Thanks, Mike. Great presentation. Thanks for all you do. Like you said, I know you guys don't have a giant staff, but for the acreage you handle and the property and the way you work with us and let us come and help, we really do appreciate it. The pamphlet, I think, is a phenomenal idea for people to be able to see all the recreational activities and on properties. The new access point there at Seaboard Marsh that we were talking about, I definitely think it's a great idea to do that on an SUL just because of, the proximity of the location, and it's kind of tucked away and everything. That way we keep down on activities that we don't want in there at all. So, but thanks again, and look forward, like Bishop said, going forward, the projects we got coming up, we definitely look forward to it. So thank you.
Yeah, John Rozier. Greg, when you were talking about your stuff, you were talking about putting a kiosk or some shelters or whatever on the ramps on the L5. No. Anyways, and since you're in charge of the recreation stuff, I was just thinking out there, I don't know about the rest of the places, don't make anything that's flammable. If you're going to put something out there, make it out of steel and concrete. Because I will guarantee somebody will build a fire underneath that nice shelter and burn it up. So I'm really surprised that the overlook that looks out into Rotenberger's right now, nobody's went out there. I don't think most people don't know what's out there, but I'm surprised nobody sat up there and said, hey, let me build a little fire up here because it's cold or something. So my suggestion is is when you get to that point to put that stuff out there, make sure it can't catch fire, because It will.
All right, thanks. Duly noted.
Next on the agenda, here we going here. Anybody else? Anybody else here? How's Zoom doing?
We have 2 hands raised on Zoom, Mr. Cook. We'll start with Christina Miller, followed by Mike Elfenbein. Ms. Miller, please unmute your mic.
Good evening. My name is Christina Miller, and I'm a volunteer guide with the Crew Trust. Specifically, I guide the 12-mile loop hikes out at Bird Rookery Swamp. And I first want to thank the district for your contributions and investments that enable the conservation of the tens of thousands of acres we get to enjoy, both from an immersive recreational standpoint and from a clean water and replenishment standpoint. Now, the demand for these hikes, these longer hikes, is evident. And I say this as we are looking forward to a sold-out guided hike this weekend. So with that, I do come to you all to advocate for some improvements that I think would elevate the experience of our guests. My wish list is as follows. First and foremost, I would like to request concrete restrooms to replace the porta potties at the crew trails. I fear the reasoning for such a desire might be a touch too personal in this forum, but I am willing to expand on that if needed. But my hopes is that in the interim of hopefully acquiring the upgraded facilities, I would like to also ask for increased cleaning service frequency of our porta potties. This would apply to all of our crew trails, but speaking specifically to my experience at Bird Rookery, our trails attract people who travel far, often over an hour to recreate here, and often very early in the morning when public restrooms aren't always accessible. There have been a few times when folks have needed to rely on these porta potties after their long travel and ahead of a very long day of hiking, only to be met with no toilet paper. Now, while some would argue that it's actually more comfortable to go in the wilderness instead of a porta potty, I do not think it's wise to encourage that of the general public, and think we should make the bathroom experience as pleasant as reasonably possible. My final request for the evening is that we acquire a picnic pavilion at Bird Rookery Swamp. The main appeal from my perspective here is that it would provide shade for our guests, which is very important for safe recreating in the Florida sun. It would also allow for a nice recuperation spot, perhaps enjoy some lunch with a view year-round after a long day of hiking. With that said, thank you so much for the opportunity to speak, and please take care.
Thank you very much, Ms. Miller. We'll hear next from Mike Elfenbein.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we hear you.
Thank you. Mike Elfenbein, Cypress chapter of the Isaac Walton League. I just, only because I'm always quick to criticize, I want to also be as quick to say thank you to everyone at the district, your staff. Drew is amazing. Mike, that was, I don't know, it was a good thing. Like you were the star, man. Great presentation. It was great that you were last. You were definitely worth sitting through this all for. And very grateful to all of you for what you do and your willingness to collaborate with so many sportsmen's organizations, especially FSCA, Lakeland Airboat Association, KRVSA. Those guys really are the tip of the spear. I had the great opportunity to see them the day that everyone put those campsites up, and I'd never seen a group of people so excited about the work they did all day for free. And so grateful that you guys provide that opportunity. And with that, I'll stop talking. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Elfenbein. We'll hear next from Governing Board Member Ben Butler. Mr. Butler, please unmute.
Molly, how am I through?
Sorry.
Or am I coming through, Molly?
Yes, we hear you.
All right, I apologize. I couldn't let Cheek's presentation go without saying thank you to everyone. I realize those volunteers in that room, everybody around that table probably made up half of Cheek's hours that he presented on that presentation. And could not let that one go without saying thank you to everybody around that table for all the volunteering y'all do on all the recreational features. I've enjoyed the discussion tonight. I may be able to get to stay to the end of the meeting, but again, appreciate everybody's participation. Thank you, Molly.
Thank you, Mr. Butler. Mr. Cook, we have no additional raised hands on Zoom.
All right, thank you very much. Bishop, go ahead.
This is a subject I thought somebody else was going to talk about, and I didn't want to steal their thunder, but I'm going to bring it up. So I see we're working on a rule proposals to get some extra days for some youth turkey hunts. But there's another rule proposal I'd like to bring up and work with staff on is the FWC created a new rule this year where all areas that do not have a quota doesn't allow turkey hunting for outer-staters for the first 9 days. That'd be the first 2 weekends. This is something we really, really extremely need in the Kissimmee Chain of Lakes and on the Kissimmee River. Because what's happening is all those places are not going to allow outer-staters to come. And what's going to happen, because y'all two were left out, the water management property was left out, they're going to be overrun. They already are overrun, but they're going to be extremely overrun with out-of-state hunters. Out-of-state hunters are coming to get the Osceola turkey. It's the only place they can get the Osceola turkey. Y'all will be vulnerable because you'll be the only place left open for them to do this. It's bad right now. We fought hard for this. FWC only wanted to give us the first 3 days. We went against staff and fought staff to get the commissioners to go for the first 9 days. And I can tell you, we're going to have to work hard this year to get water management property, those 2 areas, the Kissimmee River, the Kissimmee Chain of Lakes on board, or you're going to hear us again and again and again complain to y'all. So let's work on working with FWC staff. I don't know if Tom Reinhardt's watching tonight on Zoom, but we're going to be meeting with him coming up too. So I would like to see that, work on that.
Thank you, Bishop.
Bishop, when you meet with Tom, can you let us know? We might want to join, just to learn.
I will for sure. And it's got to come from them, but I'm just looking for y'all's blessing and support. It gets up the ladder quicker, y'all are behind it.
Fred.
Fred Davis, Florida Trail Association. I want to make a comment about the experiences of hiking in Dupuis. I'm afraid that it's not good. I'm really concerned about the lack of exotic control that is apparent on the properties. I know in the past you've done a lot better job at controlling Lygodium, but it is everywhere all the time, every day. So I'm hoping that, I know money's tight, staff time is tight. I see you guys are doing a great job doing prescribed burning, but I would really hope that we can present a better picture to the public than is currently being demonstrated, particularly on the loop trails. Loop 1 and Loop 2 are really heavily invested with Lygodium. So that's my negative comment. I don't know if you've got, Mike, I don't know if you've got our hours, but my accountant just texted me that we put in 954 hours on trail maintenance in Dupuis in 2024. And we'll continue, we'll try to hit 1,000 next year. And we really appreciate all the help we get from the staff. Thanks.
Thank you, Fred.
Fred, thank you. It's Rory Feeney, Land Resources Bureau Chief. Thank you for those comments about Dupuis. We are aware of that. We do have a plan of attack to deal with Lygodium. It is pretty tenacious weed, and if you let your guard down, it grows like gangbusters, but we do have a plan of attack.
We do have another hand raised on Zoom from Justin Bingham.
Yeah, this is Justin. Can you hear me?
We hear you.
All right. Yeah, this is Justin. I'm the Northwest Region Public Hunting Areas Biologist for FWC and the Assistant Program Leader for the Public Hunting Areas Program. I just wanted, this is in response to Bishop's proposal. I just wanted to let him know that I was taking notes, and I'll make sure that we discuss that proposal as part of this year's rulemaking process. So I just wanted to put his mind at ease. And then it sounds like he's got the ball rolling with talking to Tom Reiner and local staff as well. I'm just participating tonight in in the absence of Cheyenne Walker, who left the agency recently. So we're kind of between public hunting areas biologists for South Region. We're in the process of getting somebody new, but I just wanted to let everybody know that we'll be working on that.
Thank you, Justin.
Thank you very much. Glad to get such a prompt response on the question. I just have a couple of things on this. One, this booklet for the recreation features is an incredible piece of work. I was lucky enough to be handed a copy of the, I guess, the proofs last week at the governing board meeting, or one of the meetings. The hunting part of it is very plainly stated in each and every spot that FWC, read their FWC regulations, because the district, of course, doesn't do the hunting part of it. The FWC manages that. So when you do get it, it will show you the places that have hunting programs, but you have to go to the brochure from the FWC each and every year and read the brochure before you go out on the property. You'd just be shocked how many people go wandering around on the property and don't read the brochures. So I just want to make a point. It is a fantastic little book, not a little book, it's a big book. But if you're going to go hunting or fishing on these properties, get the FWC brochure and read it. The other thing on this particular subject is the C-139 FEV. C-139 FEV, if it has any of the properties of the FEV-1, will be an incredible recreation area for a lot of people. And the most important feature for that is it's probably going to help get STA 5-6 back into health. I mean, STA 5, when it was constructed, it was an incredible place for the duck hunting. That's where it all started. And the property was beautiful. I mean, great marsh. Of course, it had the cattail and the marsh configuration. So in the years to come, that particular property is going to come back, because the FEB1 has made STA 3-4 the best performing STA. And this FAB will make 5-6 again back to the glory days, we can hope. And that's all I have today on this subject. Mike, thank you very much. Anyone else at all? Yes, I'm sorry, sir, go ahead.
Good evening, Andrew Burnett with the FSCA. First, I just want to say thank you to everybody that gave a presentation. I thought everybody did very well. I just like to quickly bring up, last meeting I had brought up the tour boat situation in Water Conservation Area 2. As a camp owner, my family has owned a camp out there for probably close to 20 years now, and to have to go out to our camp in the middle of the week just to avoid all the tour boats, there's probably close to 30 of them that run out of between the Stub Canal boat ramp and Loxahatchee Road. And I know probably over the past 2 years, there's been probably close to 10 accidents between recreational boats and the tour boat operators. One of the other things to brief on with water conservation is not only that, is it a safety issue with the recreational boats, is that they have turned that place into a complete mud pit. If you are running down a trail, there is probably 1.5 feet high mud hill on each side of the trail, and it is getting up out of the trail. If you're coming up out of another boat, it is insane what those big boats will do to them trails. I know in other areas of the state that they issue permits for limiting boats, tour boats out there, I believe. I'm not 110% certain on what areas it was. They issue quotas or permits or however it goes, I don't know. I was just hoping to see maybe if there was something we could do similar to doing like that down in Area 2, because it's, not only a conservation issue, but definitely a safety issue to the recreational boaters.
And when you, I remember when you made this comment last time, is this problem in 2B or 2A or both?
Area 2A.
Yes, and I just haven't gotten briefed between the last meeting and this meeting on this one, but I certainly remember making the note.
So, I've talked to your staff since the last meeting.
Can you pull the mic away from your mouth a little
All
bit?
right. I've talked to your staff since the last meeting. Yeah, I haven't. So, I was told that that's an FWC thing, Justin. And it's on my agenda to talk to Tom about. But I was going to save this for the upcoming future comments. And I'm going to make a challenge to you and FW South Florida and FWC. I'd like to come back next year at the March meeting and say we finally accomplished this, because I've been talking about this for over a year, all right? So let's work together on this for the next year. And my goal is to have this accomplished by next year. And I've said this over and over, and I've said this to Tom. It's a very simple process. The St. John's Water Management District has already done a study, already done the homework. But I can tell you in the last year, the tour boat industry and all of the conservation areas, all of them, has doubled. And y'all talk about Hungryland and what a destruction the mudders have done to Hungryland. I'm going to tell you that every day, those tour boats out there are doing the same destruction in the Everglades that's being done in Hungryland. You know, you can't run boat after boat after boat and unload in the same spot. They're consuming our boat ramps, you know, and they're making their own parking lot. It's a private entity. Someone just texted me about, you know, people guiding and charging money to guide on your property, you know what I mean? These people are making buku-doodles of money on a public piece of property with a public boat ramp. It was never designed for this. We have to do something about this. This year, we have to make this a priority. It's getting real bad. And that's the reason why I'd like to make the challenge that by this meeting next year, 2026, we've got this behind us and we can move forward. Because I hate to see what's going to happen in 2027 if we don't.
Good issue. And this is the part, the final part here of our meeting is we just go around the table and on Zoom. And what we're looking for is any comments you might want to make on the meeting tonight, any comments you might want to make on issues you'd like to see at our next meeting, which incidentally will be Monday, June 23, here in this room and on Zoom. And this is your opportunity to put a little input into what you'd like to see in the future meetings or to make a comment on the meeting tonight. So we'll start to the left and just go around as we did before, and then we will open it to Zoom. Looking left, anyone with a comment?
Hey, this is Justin Nolte, and I just want to thank you all for coming out and showing out like this.
Following on, anyone else? Yes, sir.
For future meeting discussion, can we go over what the cattle leases and grazing rights and whatnot cover as far as that goes on these district lands and what it's bringing in monetary wise and whatnot for the district?
Okay. Continuing around, yes, sir.
Paul Hickman with the FSCA. At the moment, y'all are replacing fences in Gardner Marsh. Preferably right now, it's being done on Bronson's property. From what I understand, the district pays to replace them fences for these cattle people. Now, them fences are put there to hold cattle back, not people. And from what I understand, you all foot the whole bill for this, and I'm kind of wondering why.
I am not familiar with this. So Bronson's property, you need to give me details.
Well, right now, they're replacing it from Durazdo to the high road that runs through the marsh to Bronson's on the west side there? West side from Durazdo that goes all the way to the high road, which is all borders Bronson's. They're replacing it as we speak. And then they're clearing about a 50-foot swath down through there And all the debris from that, clearing that fence line is being pushed over onto district property, and it'll sit there until it rots away 100 years from now. So I was just curious, is this a practice with the district on all their properties? They just replace fences for all these billionaire cattle people? Or, I mean, I understand it being done when you all purchased a property to establish borders, but the border's been established. I mean, there is a fence there. It may not be the best fence in the world, but as far as a border being established and people knowing what's, you know, theirs and not theirs is there. So the whole purpose of putting a brand new 5-strand barbed wire fence there is for cattle. And as far as I know, the district is not into the business of moving cattle.
I don't know those circumstances, do you? Anybody know?
Yeah, well, I mean, you're not wrong. You're right that the fences are installed to establish a boundary between the public property and the private property. And it's just a cycle maintenance on these fences. It's time to replace them. And so with that one particularly, we've actually, it's a concerted effort with Florida Forest Service. They helped us to establish this fire break through there. And so they helped pay for that clearing, and then we offset the cost of that and put that towards the materials for the fencing. And I can get back with you on the specifics, but we may have actually worked out a cooperative with the neighbor to cover some of the labor on that.
Okay. Justin, I'm sure we'll get an answer for you.
Well, I just think there's better ways of spending our money, tax money. I mean, I could see if, split the difference with at least half of the difference with the landowner. I mean, it benefits him more than it benefits us. I mean, you don't need a 5-strand barbed wire fence to keep us out,
I know it's not our practice to just replace our neighbors' fences all the time, so it's always circumstantial. So, I mean, I'm glad, Justin, you knew the circumstance here, but we're not into replacing cattle fences all across our neighbors. That while we've been asked,
I did it a
it's
few
generally
years
no.
ago in the North Cove and replaced all that fencing in there, which is also Bronson's.
So there are circumstances that we do get into when we acquire land about maintenance. That's not all across the district.
And just to expound on that a little bit, on a lot of these properties, we also run cattle leases. So back to yours. So we may have district cattle, we have a lease on there, and we have a responsibility to ensure the cattle remain on the property or off of the neighbor's property.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Around the table, anyone else? Yes, sir, back to back.
Hey, how's it going? It's Mark Barton from Backcountry Hunters and Anglers again. Bishop mentioned this earlier, and it was in one of the presentations as well. The Palmar property or Hungry Land Trails. I read that there was a recent land trade that was done with Be a Man Buy Land to consolidate as much of his lands with district lands and give him a piece so that he can go do his thing somewhere else. Word on the street is that's going to be potentially added to Hungry Land as a wildlife management area. Curious if maybe in a future meeting we can get some sort of update on what the plans are for that property. Like Bishop mentioned, there's been just a ton of damage that's been done by people off-roading out there. I think we need to see a lot of that, restored. A number of things probably need to happen out there to make it, publicly available and create access. So I'm just curious if there's any update on what's going to happen out there, and maybe we can hear about that more in another meeting.
Yeah, that's let's do that in another meeting. That would be good. I mean, the basic transaction is a land swap, where a lot of the Be a Man Buy Land properties come into Martin County or district ownership, but it's not all the property that's out there. So there still is a lot of inholdings out there that's not from Be a Man Buy Land. So we still have to figure out how we manage it going forward, because that was ultimately just a land swap.
Yeah. Hey, good evening, everybody. I'm Jeff Prater with the Army Corps of Engineers, Public Affairs. Appreciate you being here. We had a couple of good presentations. Thanks for the questions. But what I'd like to pass along is if you have any additional questions you didn't get answered tonight, I'll leave my card out here on the table. Snap a pic on your way out. Drop me a note, and I'll see what I can do to help you out. All right?
Thank you very much. And thank you for all the Corps, what the Corps does. Yes, sir.
I've got two comments quick. Number one, Newton resonated earlier about Mike Cheek's presentation. All of them tonight were excellent. Very, very well done. About the positivity, and Mr. Butler chimed in about the volunteer in this room. You know, it's a two-way street. We get to visit a lot with our sportsmen and airboat friends up at the Brevard County Airboat Association, and they have a great relationship with St. John's. But you know, it's a two-way street. This staff is unbelievable. What works in here and the relationships. I had phone calls today from 3 members of staff on the way down here. I don't even know how many times I've driven down here. I think I can make it in my sleep. But it's encouraging to put in those hours and that time and those miles when staff will pick up the phone, talk, communicate, and things can be done on an honorable basis. So I think it needs to be shined that light back too. I appreciate Mr. Butler's comments, but on the same time, this staff is unbelievable. I work with agencies all over the state, and this is by far, we'll see, the word is not easiest, but the most reciprocal just to be able to get things done. Secondly, I would challenge staff. You know, Bishop made a comment earlier, and I'm sitting over here stewing about it and have down here for years and keep my mouth shut, but I would challenge staff, let's look at some of this district property that's used for commercial entities that are pocketing and making a profit. You know, my wife and I retired last year, and part of my big basis on that was my business was over $500,000 in GL insurance, let alone all the rest of this stuff. You know, I've never walked in this building or driven in this parking lot and had to pass food trucks, and I got a pretty good feeling that's probably not allowed in this parking lot. I noticed nobody's selling pony rides. I haven't passed the cotton candy guy or the guess your weight or age. So it's hard for me to sit here and be quiet when you recognize for 2023 to a group of people sitting at these tables from all walks, from trails to kayaks to airboat to sportsmen, who donate over $500,000 in kind and volunteer hours. And then you've got folks out there taking and taking and taking or wanting other things done that don't pitch in a dime or a dollar. And I'm probably very unpopular with some people out there right now for saying it. Doesn't really bother me. I got big shoulders. But somebody should say it. And I think we should look at that as district and staff. I really have a hard time with people running businesses on taxpayer dollars, on taxpayer land, on taxpayer facilities with nothing coming the other way. Because that's certainly not the way it was in my business. And I don't think, I look around here, I know several people in this room that own businesses or run businesses, and I bet that's not the way it is at your house either. So I would appreciate staff taking a look at this.
Thank you very much. Coming around, anyone else? Okay, we need to go to Zoom.
Yes, we have a few hands raised on Zoom. We'll begin with Jared Greenberg, followed by Mike Elfenbein. Mr. Greenberg, please unmute your mic.
All right, can you guys hear me okay?
We hear you.
All right, perfect. Hi, I'm Jared Greenberg. I live up in Port St. Lucie off the C-23 canal. And I'd like to get 2 fishing docks under the C-23 bridge on Citrus for the Martin County side and the St. Lucie side, along with bathrooms. And it would be nice if we have a little park on each side as well. We have a lot of road cyclists that like to stop there and take a break. Second, I'd like to know to get a boat ramp on the west side of Becker, along with all the new homes that are going in the tradition area. Would like to know what would that look like. Does the city have to ask, or can you guys go and do that? Like maybe on Rangeline Road or where the Tradition Parkway is located. And third, e-bikes to be allowed on South Florida water main right-of-way areas. The sign says no motorized vehicles and e-bikes / electric dirt bikes do have motors, but are silent and not noisy on all. And I think it would help get the elderly out and enjoy the right-of-way areas.
Very good.
That's all I got.
Thank you. Next.
We'll hear from Mike Elfenbein, followed by Danny Brantley. Mr. Elfenbein, please unmute.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. This is Mike Elfenbein. I would like air-conditioned, climate-controlled facilities at all locations, parking spaces with names on them. No, I'm just joking. I just figured if you guys are giving all this stuff away on request, I'd throw that in there. But there's a couple of things I wanted to touch on tonight, since we have a good group of people here. Is last year we worked really hard on a project called the Green Heart of the Everglades. The district was phenomenal in that. We got 11,000 acres of new conservation land with fishing and hunting and public access and airboat access, and it's fantastic. And that was phase 1 of the project. And so phase 2 of the project is the acquisition of mineral rights beneath 450,000 acres of land in Big Cypress National Preserve and the Florida Panther National Wildlife Refuge. And so that part of the Green Heart of the Everglades project has been ongoing for 3 years, mostly in Washington, D.C. with Congress and the Department of the Interior and the Bureau of Indian Affairs. And so now we'd like to make sure that everybody in the state is aware of what's going on. And we will be working with not just our federal legislators, but state legislators to facilitate this purchase of the mineral rights from the colliers from beneath that land by the federal government using land and water conservation funds that are derived from royalties on gas production in the Gulf of America. And so I wanted to make sure that everybody in this room was aware of that because that will go hand in hand with the efforts underway to remove wilderness designations in Big Cypress. And I just wanted everyone in the room to be aware that we have Senate Bill 456 and House Bill 1192 that were reintroduced this year again by Congressman Franklin and Senator Rick Scott. And the idea is that by buying those mineral rights, we would have no need for the wilderness designation that has been used as a de facto effort to stop those oil drilling. So just wanted to make everybody aware of what's going on. If you have an opportunity to speak with your legislators or state folks at the district or at FWC, just let them know what's happening, and that's something that we as sportsmen support for conservation and fishing and hunting access in the future. So great meeting tonight. Sorry I couldn't be there in person, but grateful for the opportunity to participate long distance. Thank you all.
Thank you, Mr. Elfenbein.
Next.
Danny Brantley. Mr. Brantley? Oh, he put his hand down. Mr. Cook, we have no additional raised hands. That's it. Oh, Danny Brantley, he just put his hand back up. Mr. Brantley, please unmute. Mr. Brantley, unmute your mic, please.
Can you hear me now?
We hear you.
Thank you. My comment is to Mr. Hickman about the cattle fence. Years and years ago, my brain doesn't tell me what year it was, but Water Management took the cattle leases away from the cattlemen on the Kissimmee chain. So that is not just keeping us or anybody in or out. It keeps their cattle from coming on the Kissimmee chain where they're not allowed anymore. Because I don't, like I said, don't know what year, but Water Management quit leasing the Kissimmee chain of lakes to the cattlemen. So that could, that could be a reason. I don't know the ins or outs about who pays for the fence or this or the other, but the cattle are not allowed on the Kissimmee chain of lakes anymore, Paul.
Thank you, Danny.
Yes, sir. Newton, I'm glad you're feeling better.
Okay, We're getting to the end. Would you like to, Justin, would you like to address that issue a while ago?
Yeah, Dan, I just want to follow up on that a little bit. We still do have cattle leases up there in the KCOL. As we implement the Headwaters schedule, we'll pursue possibly removing the cattle in the future, but currently they're still out there.
All right, Drew, any last comments?
Yeah, I just want to echo Board Member Butler's thanks for all the volunteers and all that volunteer work. It really means a lot to us and means a lot to our lands and our recreational areas. So it's a great partnership we have with everyone here. We're trying to make everything work, and I really appreciate everyone coming out tonight. Thank you.
Okay, the next meeting is June 23, right here, and it's right at 8 o'clock, and we're adjourned.